even more and also the worst person that's ever come across from me. That's ever come across to me, I guess. It's like
yeah, I think you explained it really well. I'd be really surprised if someone didn't understand that. And can I tell you what I heard?
Yeah.
That, you know, on the one hand, it sounds like he was the first stable father figure who like cared about you as a person. And also that he is so selfish, right? For so many reasons. Like it's not just, like you said, there are just so many elements to it where like, you know, coming in and asking you for a hug, like he gets the comfort, right? Like he gets to determine, he gets to like plan things out and in a sense be at peace. Like he's figured his plan out. I'm going to say goodbye. I'm going to get a hug because I care about this kid. And then I'm going to do this thing and I'm not going to stick around for the responsibility.
Yeah. That's pretty much what it felt like. He even left a note before he did it, since he knew he was going to kill himself. And in that note, he was basically just talking straight shit about my sister, about my mom, about my brother, but completely left me out. Like, no word, nothing. And it just feels weird to... sorry? The first time in, like, years almost that I'm almost crying. But it feels like... How do you say that? It feels weird to be the best friend of your mom's murderer, I guess. It's
yeah, I get the sense that there are a lot of really... Do you feel responsible?
very... Sorry.
Do you want me to help you stop crying?
Yeah, sure.
I'm asking, it's a genuine question.
Yeah, I meant it.
Okay. Give me a second, because now I've got to figure out how I'm going to do that.
Worked. Good job.
I was like, oh, fuck. He said yes. I wasn't expecting that, Doc. This is the part where you say, no, this feels good. I'm feeling so good. No, like I need to cry. Like it's telling me. It's like, no, he said yes. Now I'm a panic. What do I do?
I'm sorry.
He's supposed to feel free, and it's supposed to be good. He's supposed to be able to handle it.
Yeah, it was good, but
it's what everyone goes for. Quick, penis joke.
Good, but like,
penis joke. But I was drawing a blank.
Well, that worked. That's oh man.
I panicked. I didn't know what to do.
That's sorry about that.
No, I mean it's fine. Yeah,
I felt like if I was gonna say no, that was gonna be weird.
Yeah, and
you just want to have you like watching me cry for 5 minutes. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean I'm totally fine watching you cry. It's that's cool. That's what we come here to do a little bit.
If it's of like. If it takes things into like a different perspective, it's also rare that I genuinely laugh. So that's like the first for two things now.
Yeah. But I did get the sense that was not quite as defensive of a laugh.
No.
Yeah.
That was genuine.
Yeah.
It was a funny reaction.
Um, yeah. So, Doc, I feel like there's a lot to say, but I also feel like maybe it should be said at another time in another place. Like, I think it's important to process what we talked about. I'd like to still talk about one or two things if that's okay with you, but I just kind of want to check in with you about, where's your stamina bar right now?
Okay. Do you want me to answer that directly, or is that like in regards to maybe a sort of aspect of my life?
No, I mean like for this conversation, like where are you?
Oh,
like in terms of
I'm still. Actually, I'm still full. It's like I can still go on.
Okay. So in my experience, when we have something like this, which is sort of like a good cry followed by a genuine laugh, like that's what healing sort of can look like sometimes. But it's also like we should give ourselves the time and space to kind of process and decompress from that a little bit. I want to share, I think, a couple of almost like more practical thoughts and questions for you. Yeah. The first is I'd like to explain a little bit about your experience of living in the third person and share some terms and concepts and things like that. I'm also really curious about what your romantic relationships are like.
Oh, that's gonna be.
So I'm kind of curious about that. Give me just 1 second. And, just like, because I can imagine that a lot of what we're talking about will, make it'll complicate your experience of a romantic relationship.
I'm surprised that that's something you, that's a conclusion you could draw out of it, because it's true, in a way. I just didn't think that that's something that's like correlating. But yeah, it's very true. Because I don't know, would you like me to answer that right now, or?
I mean, I am curious about it. I think that I imagine we could spend another, hour and a half talking just about that. So I'd love to hear a little bit, but yeah. So, I mean, please.
Yeah. I mean, I can like sort of put it shortly, but I've had a lot of relationships in my life in general, after like turning into a normie to like to put it like that. And for me, it's rarely been the case that I was actually genuinely romantically invested, to be honest. It's more like people would come up to me. I would talk to them, and eventually it would the topic of romance would come up. And for me, it was just like a matter of saying yes to someone because I didn't want to see them cry, and I didn't dislike them enough to not feel like I could have that sort of relationship with them, if that makes sense. But I never really have, I guess, infatuation. Like, I don't really have any sort of feelings of infatuation for anyone. And it usually just led to relationships that for me felt like just a friendship plus almost, but like obviously I wasn't gonna like trample their feelings. I wasn't gonna cheat on them or anything. That's not it. But more like, I just felt like I was almost like
not invested.
Not invested romantically. I still enjoyed their company. I still liked them and loved them as friends almost, like. Yeah, but that changed at some point when I met someone who's nowadays my best friend, ever. It's like unimaginable how compatible we are. If you're watching, hi. But this person is. It feels like having a mental twin almost, and this person is someone who actually wasn't. Let's just say they actually don't look for the gender that I am. They actually look for women, but still worked out for some reason, because we were just so almost I guess, excited about the fact that there's someone who is that compatible with us, if that makes sense. And at some point, it just we just figured we would try it out. Worked for a few months, but eventually we figured, yeah, no, it's like it's weird since like just our sexual orientations weren't working in tandem, I'd say.
Yep.
But we're still best friends, and yeah, so someone like the most important person in my life, I would say. Yeah, so and
I'm in a field of dandelion, wishing on everyone that you've been mine, mine. And I see forever in your eyes. I feel okay when I see your smile, smile. Wishing on dandelions all of the time, praying to God that one day you'll be mine. Wishing on dandelions all of the time, all of the time. In a field of dandelion, wishing on everyone that you'll be mine, mine. Thank Not the default skin. Okay, this. Wreck your Steve. The default skin is in Minecraft. All size.
but ever since then, I've tried to see if I can have that sort of feeling for anyone else, which I can't. It's it just won't happen for some reason.
Sure.
And it's but also I've remembered some. This is gonna be a bit depressing again. I've remembered some stuff in my life that's happened, which I apparently managed to lock away, which somehow led me to just be almost completely unable to. I say that. I don't really feel like any sort of like sexual attraction to people anymore in general. And it feels like nowadays, back then I used to be with a lot of women just because like with a lot of women who were also like with a lot of men. I didn't like break any hearts, but I was very active in that regards because I felt like if I'm with someone, if I get intimate with someone, then I feel like I'm still desirable almost. That's kind of like, I think that was like subconsciously going on in my mind. But eventually that, it didn't feel like that anymore. It just feels like it's uncomfortable for me now. And I don't really get like romantically close to anyone anymore. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for sharing that. I thought that was a great summary. So I think it makes sense, for lack of a better term. And here's kind of like the main. So I think there's a lot to talk about. So, I'll make a recommendation now and later in more detail that I don't know if you ever seen a mental health treatment provider, like a therapist.
Yeah. Right after my mom died, we were assigned to someone who was very kind, but I don't know. She was a therapist, but it also felt like just talking to a friend, to be honest. Like nothing really, there's not really anything that came out of it.
Yeah.
It was just.
So a lot of times when when people come on here, I'll say, you should consider working with our coaches or work with a therapist. In your case, I'd say you should definitely work with a therapist. So
yeah, but I was going to sign up for a coach at first, but I figured probably that's too much.
I mean, like, I think coaching is, I'm sure that coaching you'll do well in coaching, but I think for what I'm about to explain, I think therapy is definitely like worthwhile. Now, so I just want to be clear. So I'm not sure that, you have an illness or anything. I'm not diagnosing you with anything, but like, what it really is,
I've been diagnosed with PTSD, but somehow I don't feel like it's weird to say. It's like unless this feeling of like completely numbed out emotions is part of it, I don't really see it all that much.
It is part of it.
Okay,
so we're going to explain that in a second. But I'm not surprised. Anyone is going to diagnose you with PTSD just to be safe, given your story, because there's no way that this stuff happens to you and you don't wind up with PTSD. At the same time, I don't know that there's really like a clinical, like, there are a lot of questions that when we diagnose with someone with PTSD, like, do you have nightmares, flashbacks, things like that. But I think that like this is definitely, so here's what I'm hearing from you, Doc, is that your life and your experiences have shaped the way that you interact with life.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. So, and the biggest thing is like, so this is now a psychological term. So I get some degree of, I think probably depersonalization. So with trauma, our brains can do two things. They can create a situation of derealization or depersonalization. So derealization is the feeling that the world that you're existing in does not feel real. You are real, but the world becomes fake. So it's like, I feel like I am living in a video game. The other thing that people experience is sort of the opposite, which I think you're more depersonalization, which is that I feel like I'm not actually living my life, but I'm watching a character who's like playing a video game take the actions of my life. So I am not real.
I think I would even like describe it as me being the person who's playing the character. Like it's weird to explain, but like it feels like I'm remote controlling myself.
Absolutely. So that, did I say the word controller, or was I just thinking? Anyway. So what like anyway, so the other way that I kind of think about it is like, I do get the sense that you are controlling yourself living life, right? Like the Doc is playing the character of whatever your real name is, who is existing, presumably in Germany in 2021. So that sounds to me like depersonalization. And that's actually a feature of trauma. And if we really look at it, like, why does this happen? It's because when we have these very traumatic experiences, our mind kind of unplugs from the reality of it. And so in some cases, like these periods will be like very, very like acute and temporary. So people will have like periods of derealization where it's almost like they're like, on psilocybin or LSD or something, where they like kind of feel like completely disconnected. And it's like a trippy kind of surreal, sometimes scary experience. Sometimes they'll also be associated with like amnesia episodes where like people will have a fugue state where you wake up in a different place like 30 hours later and you have no memory of it. So our brain has... Yeah, it can be weird. But like our brain has all these mechanisms to essentially like unplug from traumatic situations because they hurt. And it's been really interesting because the first thing that you said is that, I feel like I'm living life in the third person. And then just now when you cried for, some amount of time and it's been a while, you said like you try to avoid it because it feels real and I'm making it real again when I think about it. So
I think it's good to make it real in a way. Like, it's hard to explain.
Yeah. So we'll talk. So that's the thing, right? So I want you to just pay attention to like the language that I'm sending back at you. Mm-hmm. Life feels like not realish, right? Like I'm living it in the third person. Like there's no point in the main quest. It's all about the side quests. It's about the periphery. It's not about like my life. Third person, autopilot, side characters, side quests. You are the NPC in other people's lives instead of being the PC. Right? Like you're like, yeah. Like it's kind of weird. Like even when it comes to your romantic relationships and stuff like that, you are the person that they have to date before they find the one they love. You're like the NPC in their story. It's not your story. They're attracted to you. They're infatuated with you. They approach you. So you're like, it's kind of weird. I got
a really good, this is something that I talked about with my old therapist once, where she was asking me since I also told her that I felt like some sort of superiority almost over people, like just from like a cognitive point, not actually feeling like I'm better as like I'm a better person or I'm worth more, just that I can do more sometimes. And she asked me if I felt like a king. and I replied, I think the best summary of what I feel like is that I said, I'd rather be the person telling the king what to do rather than the actual king. That makes sense. Like, sure. I want to be an advisor. It feels more comfortable.
Yeah. So that's the role of the NPC, right? It's like they're not. Yeah. So I think that there's just it feels to me like there's a very simple connection between making it real again and like living your main quest. Because I think what you've managed to do is like put your main quest on pause, like on purpose and for survival. Because it's just too much, man. Like there's just too much. Right? There's like all the low value stuff from early on, like not like, and that would have been enough, man. That's enough to get you on stream. That's enough to talk about. And then you toss in, go ahead.
Sorry, I just wanted to say that this is like one of the weirdest things to tell people, but like I do believe that to some extent at least, what happened, like the stuff that was continuously happening in my childhood and like up until the point where people stopped bullying me and where it like started getting actually like popular, that stuff probably sticks more to my head than anything else. It's as weird as it sounds.
No, so I don't think that sounds weird at all. Like, so you even told us that it can be a confusing observation that your teacher bullying you feels more traumatic than, I feel weird even saying this, but your stepfather killing your mom and then committing suicide. And yet I encourage everyone to just notice that if we want to be good scientists, we need to let our observations shape our hypotheses instead of letting our hypotheses shape our observations. Right? And if that's what your experience is, so much of like so much of the reason that we get, sorry. What are you feeling?
For me, it's just, I don't know how to explain it. I think it's just like the nature of it being such a continuous thing. And it's not even just about like teachers bullying me. I could have dealt with that. It's the fact that everyone joined in and that feeling of like, there's nothing desirable about me. And that's something that is really hard to shake. Even now, I often feel like I can actually see a lot of people relating to this. When friends call me up and ask me to come out, oftentimes I'd say no, even though I know I would have more fun going out with them than I would have staying in, just because I don't want to feel that I don't want to feel uncomfortable in the way that I feel like when I'm outside, I'm exposing myself to the just the chance that I might do something that might make people look bad at me. Like might make people look at me in a way that's just like I'm weird against something like that. Even though I know it's not going to happen, it's just something that always stays in my mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. And the reason it stays in your mind is because it was put into your mind over and over and over and over and over and over again. And this is where when we get to your sort of like asexuality and inability to be infatuated with people, because I think that like this is where, you know, this is a little bit more bread and butter. Like you have to really think a little bit about if you cared about someone and if you were in love, how would it, so you have that kernel, like you have that core of unlovableness, right? Like everyone dogpiling on. And as long as that exists, I don't think you will let yourself fall in love with anyone. Because
I think so too. I'd have to be very, very comfortable with that person for that to happen.
And that's where, like, so it seems that when you get your, you know, your twin, your mental clone, like that, you can actually start to have those sorts of feelings. But I think it's sort of like, because it's just too much of a risk, right? It's going to hurt. Like, it's fine for teachers and other randos to bully you. Like, it's fine for your friends who you don't really know who you are to like not invite you somewhere. Totally fine. But if you let yourself love someone and they respond to you in the way that many people have, in which you're terrified of happening, like that's going to be too much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because, and the weird thing is, it's not even like the, it's going to sound bad, I think. It's not even like about me being afraid to lose someone that I love, as much as I'm afraid to lose that slight grip on reality that I have, that maybe there is something lovable about me, if that makes sense.
Exactly. So you're absolutely, because right now there's still a question mark, right? In your mind, there's still a question mark that maybe I am lovable. But if ever you love and that person finds you unlovable, then it's like, it's going to be the final nail in the coffin.
Yeah.
Which makes perfect. I mean, it's not true, but it makes perfect sense. Does that make sense? Like, do you understand the difference there?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and this is why I think this is really like therapy level stuff. So like when you have someone who has been through as much as you have, I think it takes really like a good therapist to help you start the process of like making life real again. Because I don't think it's not like a malfunction, it's a survival mechanism, right? So you've depersonalized, you've like withdrawn from life because life like hurts way too much.
Yeah, pretty much.
And this is where you can also get into other kinds of things like, you know, maybe the reason that the teacher's bullying you hurts more is because you'll let yourself get closer to that. Whereas like when it comes to your mom, you really have to do your level best because the guilt and stuff, especially, we haven't even touched on that. But like that, you know, so like all those things, Doc, I think at the end of the day, like, I think you are a good person. I'm not just saying that because I'm Dr. K. Like, I think like genuinely, like you seem like a good dude. Right.
Thank you.
And I'm not trying to pity you, but like, I think I get to a little bit, right? I don't like you because I pity you, but I think like you got to let me pity you somewhat. And I can like you as a person independent of the pity. I hope you can see that, like, I can see you as being a good dude. I mean, you're dank. You made some money on crypto. You're busting out the lol analogies. And maybe that's you being a chameleon for me. You know, but I don't
just
think
a little
so.
bit, but it's also it's
I mean,
a little bit, but this is also like part of my core personality. Just I like making these metaphors that are easy to.
So like, I can like you for those reasons and have compassion and pity because it sounds like, boy, have you been through a lot.
I guess that's like the sort of thing that prevents me from telling people, because I don't want them to think that I'm just saying it for attention, because that's like.
Because you saw an uncle do that, and you know what manipulating people into compassion looks like, and you don't want to do that, which makes sense.
Yeah.
so, you know, just the last thing that I'd leave you with, Doc, is like there's this principle from Indian philosophy called Advaita Vedanta, which I think is a very useful way to overcome conflicting emotions. Mm-hmm. And what Advaita Vedanta says is that essentially like dualism or conflict is like an artificial construction of the mind, and that reality just has like one quality. So like if we think about, is this a good glass of water or a bad glass of water? Like neither. It's just a good glass of water. Whether it's good or bad has to do with the constructions that my mind puts on top of it. And so I'd say your road forward involves probably some combination of like therapy to start out. Second thing is you have to learn how to love again.
Yeah.
And then third thing on a really spiritual level, and I think this is your main quest, because I think that some of these qualities that you describe about the plebs and like your level of awareness actually speaks to me of a certain spiritual IQ. Right? Like it's not even necessarily emotional. I think it even extends kind of beyond that. And then I think your real happiness is going to be when you can sit, and this is also kind of involved in treatment for BPD, for example, like when you have all of these conflicting emotions that like both of them can coexist and be real. And ultimately, like even beyond that, you don't even have a head or a heart. That's actually an artificial construction. And what you are is like just something that's even formless. But that takes time. And, you can do that long term.
I guess to a degree, formless, that's something that I already do feel, but I guess in a more negative sort of way.
Yeah. So that form, like, so even formless is like not Advait, because formless and form is actually like two opposites, right? So there's a way to even transcend that axis and not feel formless or feel form, but just to feel. I feel, period. Not sort of idea that like it clearly isn't your fault what happened to your mom, and you feel responsible. So those two things can feel conflicting, and you can work on transcending both of those.
Yeah. That's going to be hard. It's going to be hard, though.
That's step 3. End of the main quest, my dude. Step 1 is seriously, you should see a therapist, man. Like, and it's just like you deserve some help in the process of putting yourself back together, which I think it's clear you're a survivor, and like you've managed amazingly well with, a lot of bad RNG.
I mean, I also like for this session, I've been only talking about like bad stuff in my life, but I think something that really helped me cope, weirdly enough, is just like the exact opposite of what's plagued me in my earlier years. Because nowadays I'm very sort of popular where I live. Like people, there's a lot of people who I can trust. At least like my brain knows I can trust them. Like just metaphorically speaking, again. My heart will never do, but it's like, or it will always tell me that I shouldn't, but I know that I can. I love these people to death. And they've been really good at keeping me company over like my worst time of it.
Of course.
As I said again, so it's a funny story, actually. I met these people, like most of my nowadays best friends, like at all. I met them in my time working in my casino. They used to be like in a school next to mine. We were just like very, very, very like far acquaintances, I'd say. Like we didn't really know each other well, but we knew each other's names. That's it. And we just started talking, and it just turned out that they were the type of people who are like extremely compatible with the person that I am when I'm at my most comfortable, if that makes sense. Because they are the type to, if they have a problem with you, they'll just straight up tell you. They don't have any like, they don't really talk about anyone behind their backs, but they just make fun of you right in front of your face. And then they'll also make sure that it's okay though. Like they'll make fun of you, but they're trying to make you laugh with them. And I love these people to death. And they helped me a lot with what was going on back then. And also, stupid thing to say, but there's a server on Discord where also there's a few people who really helped me just by being who they are. They know they're probably watching too. Oh,
Sorry.
was that me or
Yeah.
you?
That was
Okay.
me. Need something? I don't know. Anyway, I'm sure if it's...
Yeah.
Sorry, but it sounds like you've had a lot of really important people who have helped you through hard times, both in person and on Discord.
Yeah. And to a degree, taking care of my sister also really, in a way, gave me a goal that I don't know, previously didn't think I had. Just something to do, basically. And it felt really nice to like see her grow up to be like a really well-adjusted and nice person. And I often like to say that she's like who I would be if I didn't have any problems at all. Like not, I didn't have any problems, but if I didn't have any like behavioral problems, if that makes sense. She's, I don't know, she's got strengths where I got weaknesses, basically. I'm very proud of her for that. It's been, but it just feels good to like,
what would
that's
she
why
say
I said
about,
before that.
What would she say about you?
I'm pretty sure, I could just ask her right now, but I'm pretty sure that she would probably say, she's often said, like even in front of her friends, but I'm more of a father than a brother. And she's also like told me occasionally that I'm her best friend. And it's just, I don't know, it feels nice to like know that there's really some people who deem me as important, I guess.
Yeah. I would imagine you're very important to her. Now we have a good cry. Is this a good cry or a bad cry?
Yeah. I was hoping you couldn't see. I was hoping the camera quality wasn't good enough for that. But this is a good cry. This is, I guess, something that I already knew, but just kind of proved to myself again just by talking about it. That makes sense? But yeah, this is a good cry.
Yeah, good. Well, I think, Doc, thank you very much for coming on. It requires balls of steel, my friend.
It's been very rewarding.
Yeah.
So I'm just glad I'm glad you let me. It was really nice talking to you, seriously.
Yeah. You're very welcome, man. I'm glad you came on and you know, give your sister a hug for me.
I will.
All right. Take care, man.
Thank you so much. You too.
Damn, chat. All right, so I know we normally meditate this time, but dude, I cannot teach meditation right now. So Lost and Weird, okay. So hi, I'm new here. I love Dr. K videos on YouTube. It's something that has been helping me a lot. I'm 23, and I have a feeling of emptiness inside and a strong need for human warmth, almost like a child. I think that that's creepy, but it's how I feel. I have a hard time socializing. I hate the sense that I have to put a mask on. I feel like I'm being false and isolated from everybody. It's like we all individually live in our own small islands, and we are alone forever trapped inside. It's weird. I want to be more confident and care less about what other people think and be myself, but I don't know how. I just feel alone. Okay, this is a really great post because I think there's a really tricky problem about that we run into when we like lack confidence and have trouble making connections with people. So let's just think through how this works, okay? So this is like the problem with the chicken and the egg, because when you don't, so let's say like on the inside, I'm not confident in myself. So what happens is I put a mask on and then I go and like relate to other people with the mask. And then the problem that arises is because the people are relating to the mask, I don't necessarily become more confident in myself, right? Like what happens is I become confident in the people's reaction to the mask. So as a person, what I think, so for example, I'm Alok, and then like, let's just call the mask Dr. K. And so what I start to think is, oh, people like Dr. K, but what does that do to my confidence? It actually doesn't increase it at all. In fact, it can make me even more insecure, because what people are responding positively to is Dr. K and is not Alok. And so the more that this happens, the more we get stuck. So now I know that people like Dr. K, and I think that they may not like me because they clearly like Dr. K. What if I show them the rest of me? Like, there's no way that showing them the ugly bits on the inside of my psyche is going to get them to like me more than what they like Dr. K as, right? And so then I get stuck because, like, what happens is, like, people start to love Dr. K more, and the more that they love Dr. K, the harder it is to be Alok. Because then it's like, oh my God, like, I can be this, and then people will like me if I continue to, like, be Dr. K. And so what happens is we get addicted to wearing the mask because we think other people are addicted to the mask and that they won't like us on the inside. And then we get really, really stuck because we know how to put on the mask. We know how to get good reactions from people. But we get more and more stuck and we become more and more insecure. And then we wind up feeling empty on the inside. We long for human connection, but we don't want to risk it, right? It's all an issue of risk because if I take off the mask, what are people going to see? How are they going to react? What if and it hurts. It's fear. There's like fear, right? What if they don't like me on the inside? And it's tricky because the very adaptation that we use, which is the mask, which is to, like, you know, make it easy for us to interact with other people, becomes our curse. So our solution is the problem. The fact that I put on a mask, that I don't behave authentically with people because there's so much ugliness on the inside, because I'm so insecure, actually reinforces that insecurity, and that insecurity will never get fixed. So that it's challenging. So what this person should do, and what all of you should do if you've gotten addicted to wearing a mask, and if other people know just the mask, is you've got to show them what else is there. And that's really, really dangerous because then they could reject you. Rejecting the mask is oddly enough, like, kind of okay because it's not really who you are, right? It's just a mask. So it requires a lot of courage. And it's tricky because, like, how are you going to know? How are you going to form that connection with someone? They can't form the connection with a mask. You have to take the mask off. But then you have to be vulnerable. And if you're vulnerable, then they can hurt you. And this is where the insecurity, the lack of confidence comes in. So it's really, really tricky. But you got to take the mask off, right? And you can do it in small steps. I'm not saying, like, you know, bare your soul to everyone. I'm just saying, like, do it in little steps. You can say, like, hey, you know, if someone asks you, how are you doing? You can try, I know it sounds crazy, you can try saying not great. And then they'll be like, you know, so what you're doing is you're like, it's a game of, like, ping pong or tennis, where you're, like, hitting a ball across the other side, and you're going to see what they do with it. Some of them are going to peace out. They're going to drop the racket and walk away from the court, right? Which is totally fine, and then that hurts a little bit. But some of them will hit it back. Oh, what's not right in your life? What's going wrong? And then you can choose to share a little bit. You can say, oh, I had a terrible game of Valorant where I was going to win, but then we ended up feeding. And then there was just one dude left on the enemy team and he wiped us all. Okay. You could say that. Or you could say, I feel kind of lonely. Like, I feel alone. And then you hit that across, you know, that's like a fastball. Like, you're like, and then you'll see what they do with it, right? And so this is where, you know, part of the reason that, like, we have this coaching program is because we got to teach people how to be vulnerable. We want to create a space where you can start to swim in those waters and, like, learn to express vulnerability. And then, sure, they're your coach, so they're supposed to accept you, which they're actually not trained to do. We train our coaches to be authentic, not polite, and not nice. It's actually something that we try to get out of them. Like, because I think, like, authentic responses are important, right? So, like, if you screw up or you say something bad, your coach isn't going to, like, forgive you for it. They'll, like, hold you accountable, and they'll tell you how they feel listening to it, but they're going to be there. They're going to be there anyway. They'll share their reaction, and they'll be like, okay, this is how I feel about what you just said. What are we going to do about that? And so the tricky thing here is that the more you wear a mask, the more it keeps you from connecting to people. And then taking the mask off involves opening yourself up, being vulnerable. And then you can get hurt. But ultimately, that's what you have to do. And so if we go back to what this person is saying, right? I have a hard time socializing. I hate the sense that I have to put a mask on, and I feel like I'm being false and isolated from everyone. Exactly. Like, we're all individually live in our own islands and we're alone forever trapped inside. So build a bridge to someone else's island. And this is where, like, you can also, if you guys are concerned about how do I build a bridge, I don't want to be vulnerable, you pay attention to other people. Because other people will be hitting things across your court. When someone says, you know, how are you doing today? If they don't say fantastic, they say things are going okay. And then you say, oh, so it sounds like some stuff is going well and some stuff isn't. Do you want to talk about either one? And then they say, yeah, like, so on the upside, I got a promotion. On the downside, I just got dumped. And then that's where you can say, like, oh, yeah, I've been dumped before, too. In fact, I got dumped 2 years ago, and I still haven't gotten over it. You know? And, like, then you guys are, like, hitting the ball back and forth. You're sharing a little bit, they're sharing a little bit. And then hopefully you start to feel more connected with people. And as you feel more connected with people, like, you can't develop that confidence unless you test their reaction to what's on the inside. And we see this a lot too, sometimes with like provocative stuff, right? Sometimes people will be provocative and they'll be like, oh, you know, like if someone's provocative, they're like, yeah, no one likes me. And they'll say that out loud. They're like provoking you to engage.
Anyone gonna join me in the bullet chess?
Give me a second.
Can I try? Can I try?
You wanna try,
I wanna
Ghosty?
try.
Play bullet.
Let's go, Ghosty.
I don't know what bullet is.
You get 1 minute to do all your moves and checkmate me.
That's terrible. I don't remember my chess.com account.
Okay.
Oh,
Go out, my dad, if you want the pizza.
you're booming.
Alright.
What's this? Do I go first? What's happening?
This is I'm playing against you, Tommy. Fuck off.
Oh,
I was like,
great.
Ghosty's really good. What?
I understand.
Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit! I wasn't even thinking, dude.
What? I just have to play on my own now?
No, Ghosty, I'll be there in a sec.
Oh, yo, I better not leave it.
Foo, yo.
Why is Omni here? Omni! You're watching someone else. I just looked at your stream. Why are you watching me now?
That's so bad.
Not $10 trillion. Who's this? Oh, it's Bear.
Oh wait, I'm
completely
fucking
forgot
like
about Spare.
idiot mode. It's fine. Yeah.
You're the only stream I watch. That's a lie. Every time I come in, you're watching someone else. Many cheating. Omni, many cheating. Ask Gavin if he's the guy that just plays time and bullet. Are you the guy that plays time and bullet?
No, I would never play time and bullet.
Let's play time and bullet.
Oh my god.
Sorry. Sorry. I haven't sneezed this much in so long.
Oh fuck! Oh fuck! I'm dead. I'm so gone. I'm so gone.
Why is there a cute? I just realized. Why is that cute Achu in the comments?
Wait!
Oh fuck! I'm so gone. I'm so gone. I'm so
Play
gone.
another day.
Fuck!
With them in some way. So it's tricky. Tricky.
Oh my god.
Right? So,
Oh
so
my
like
god.
Type
Oh
2D
my god.
says,
Oh
I've
my
never
god.
been in a relationship to get dumped. So you toss that out there. And that's where we say, like, yeah, man or woman, like, what's that like? And so other people are saying, like, you see what's happening? So I want you guys to pay attention to chat because it's happening here. So I've never been in a relationship, and then someone else is saying, I'm so fat. And like other people are like opening up a little bit. See, like if you guys are reading chat, this is where like people are making, you know, people are like putting themselves out there, right? So you can add someone else in the chat. So someone else is like, I'm the opposite of fat. So now now we're talking about fat gang. I'm ugly, I'm this, I'm that. So now this is where we as a community, we come together and I'm going to ask you guys the question, what's it like to have a body that you're unhappy with? right? So, like, what's sad about it? What's not great about it? So one person says it's very restrictive. What's restrictive about having a body that you're unhappy with? What's anxiety inducing about it? I can't feel free. What keeps you from feeling free? What does your body restrict you from doing? Thanks for the host, by the way, Teldu. You get treated differently. It feels harder to be accepted. So now we get somewhere. There's social limitations, right? Who is putting those limitations on you? When you say it feels harder to be accepted, is that a feeling or a truth? People judge you for it, right? How do you get judged? What's it like to be judged? Right? So this is hard, right? So this is where now people are saying, like, it's mostly myself. I don't feel comfortable around others. But let's be honest, they judge you too, right? So when I was thinking about like being restricted, like summer is coming up, some people may go to the beach and you may not feel comfortable going to the beach because you have to wear less clothing and like you may feel judged. Like it certainly sounds restrictive. Me judging you, judging me. Right? And this is tough. And so then, like, what are we going to do about that as a group? Right? So this is a problem that a lot of people have, right? One person is even saying, I occasionally have suicidal ideation. Right? I can get that, like feeling so ashamed in yourself that like you don't even want this body anymore. Like, screw this body. Like, the body is screwing you. It's not letting you live your life. So you're going to be like, screw it. I can understand that. And now what's happening? So I know it sounds weird, but like you're talking to someone on the internet. But like hopefully if you pay attention to yourself, maybe you feel a little bit less alone. Even with no like direct interaction with another human being, right? So we have this weird Dr. K interacting with Twitch chat. And so it's kind of like, but like this is good because you guys have taken a very safe step forward in being vulnerable, which is like being vulnerable to people in a Twitch chat.
This demonical clip.
And like they can't see you, they can't judge you, but you can hear them, and like we all share an experience. That's what we're about.
Oh, you're nuts.
And so this is where like this is why we kind of have our group coaching model, because there's always this problem if you work with a therapist or a coach, which is that like your therapist is paid to accept you. They're paid to do it, right? So if you like go to a therapist and you say like, oh, I'm a disgusting, I'm like, my body is hideous. The therapist is like, no, it's not. You're beautiful on the inside. I think you're a wonderful person. And then there's some part of you that's like, well, you're paid to say that. And so this is what I really like. I think the most important thing about group coaching is like, it's not about us, right? It's like about you guys winning each other's respect. Because sure, your coach is paid to like you. I mean, that's not actually what they're paid for, but that's how it feels, right? That's how it feels. And so when you guys share this stuff with each other, like this is what the connection for the community is about. This is why this person posts on Reddit. And let's just go and take a look at this real quick. Right? What are people saying in the comments? So like even this is enough. Like, I can relate. Don't have answers for you, but you aren't alone at being alone like that. Right? And then, like, thank you. And then this person's like, did I write this? I was thinking basically the exact same thought, especially about the island thing. Perception is reality, and therefore we all live in our own world alone. I personally think it comes from an intrinsic lack of self-worth. Great, so someone's been doing some self-reflection. If I don't have the worth I have to be someone else to be valued by others, so I never show my true self. So this person's been perfect. Basically exactly what I said. And so we could both be wrong, but at least we'll be wrong together. And if I never show my true self, then none of the connections I've ever made are real. Ironically, reading this makes me feel less alone. I hope we figure this out. This is basically this is group coaching happening on Reddit. Right? And then like, this person's great too. Why do you have to put a mask on? And so this is what the AoE healing is about. Like so the problem is that, you know, here's the problem, is that we all feel like islands, but we're all one connected landmass. We're like a continent. It's like Pangea up in here. And then like, everyone's like, oh, I'm on my own island. And why are you on your own island? Because everyone's wearing a damn mask and no one talks about like what they're feeling. So when one person goes out there and is like, oh, I feel alone and I feel like I'm on an island, and they're all like, hey, we're all on islands too, and you guys are on the same loneliness island. And it turns out that it's actually Pangea. And how did this interaction happen? It's because one person went out there. So I do I'm trying to think about this, but hold on, let me just think about. Let me think about privacy concerns for a second. So I work with some people, and we like came up with this analogy, right? So some of these people are gamers. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with like the idea of like in MOBAs, you know how you have like tier 1 towers, tier 2 towers, tier 3 towers, tier 4 towers, and like the base or fountain or whatever. And so like the right thing to do is when someone dives the fountain, like what do? Like you dive with them. So in a group setting, when someone expresses vulnerability, they're out there, they're taking that, like they've dove way deep into enemy lines and there's like no support and they're wiping. And so what do? You charge right in there with them. And sure, like you throw the game if you're playing a MOBA. But like when it comes to connecting with other human beings, like that's what you've got to do. You feed together, exactly. If we're going to throw the game, we're going to like fountain dive together. Don't Alt F4 and report them. That's the problem, is like that's what we normally do. That's what we expect to do. But you've got to dive with them. When your teammates are diving, like you dive with them. Have you guys, I don't know if you guys have seen OG fountain dive people in pro games, but like that doesn't work if only one of them is fountain diving. Like the reason that it works is because they all fountain dive together and then you crush the enemy's spirit. And that's what we're going to have to do. When one person is vulnerable, you have to, you know, you got to meet him there. Don't let him do it alone. Hey guys, bit of a long post. And I'm on mobile. Okay. I recently have gone through a completely unanticipated breakup with the first girl I think I've ever truly loved. In her entirety and as unselfishly as I think I can. Okay, so you've unselfishly loved her. All right, got it. I don't know how many details are necessary, but essentially she blindsided me 2 years into a relationship with which I thought the future was bright and clear. I was looking at rings the week before and essentially told me she needed time to be single and focus on God. Okay. My concern isn't with her reasons. I'll admit I'm very frustrated and don't entirely understand what she needs, but I respect her decision and believe that she needs us to be apart, although her behavior since the breakup has been somewhat confusing. My concern is that I'm not sure that I'll ever be able to trust someone the way I trusted her again. I grew up in a household with a narcissistic mother who constantly told my twin and I how much she hated us and dreaded us coming home to us every day until we were 18 and went our separate ways. There's something in Dr. K's guides about this scenario too. Okay. We're not going to play that video, but we'll just talk about this. This obviously led to severe relationship issues with which I've been a serial dater, always looking for affection that I didn't grow up with. And I feel like a certain void is filled during relationships. Contested with severe security issues, which has at worst led me to being overpossessive and at best led me to keep my relationships at arm's length and not to let them get too close. I will give myself credit and say that I've come a long way in this regard. Okay, we'll get to that. It wasn't until this past relationship that I felt completely at ease in the relationship and 100% trusted the other person. She was also honest with me, and I with her, and I felt like we grew so well together and built an amazing foundation for a future together. Never in my mind did I think that breaking up would have been an option for us. With that trust and perspective being absolutely shattered, I feel I've reverted back to a completely apathetic person. Nothing has purpose to me anymore, and the idea of speaking or seeing anyone that isn't her just sounds gut-wrenching. To borrow a term from Dr. K used in his conversation with Destiny, I feel like I was wearing emotional armor with her. I was wearing emotional armor when her and I met, and she helped me take it off. And now I feel as if it's stuck, and I'm not sure how to take it off on my own. Thank you. Great post. Okay. So let's talk about this. A couple of different dimensions. First of all, huge props, not only for posting, but like this person has obviously come a long way, right? Like, and I love it. I love so much about this post. I mean, I know that this person is struggling a lot right now, but I can't help but appreciate a lot of the growth that this person has gone through. So like, first of all, they recognize so much about themselves. And if there's one thing that makes me like optimistic about your future, it's awareness. Awareness precedes control in all things. It's a fundamental yogic principle, which if you don't understand, you just have to think about the last time you had dental work done and you got numbed up, right? Like when you're numbed up, you can't feel anything like that, you can't control anything. So you have to be aware of something before you can change it, okay? So this person grew up with narcissistic parents. And it took a lot of work for them to be able, they started to enter into unhealthy relationship patterns where either they were like overly callous or like other things, right? So what did they say? So because they grew up in a narcissistic household, you know, they became a serial dater first, always looking for affection that I didn't grow up with. And they were filling a void from their like upbringing through like romantic relationships, which was unhealthy. And then they kind of potentially grew out of that, or at the same time navigated being like overly possessive or overly callous. So this is like very, very, it's a very insightful like understanding of their situation. So when we grow up with people and we sort of have a void of emotion, like emotional love from parents or other figures, we try to like solve that in our romantic relationships. And then these relationships tend to do poorly because we're trying to fix something from the past with a different person in our current relationship, and that just doesn't work out. So you become a serial dater, you become overly possessive or overly callous, really actually common pattern. Then they meet someone, they fall in love. They're able to be vulnerable. They're able to like connect with them. They're able to take down their emotional armor, right? And that makes a lot of sense because over time, when you grow up in a narcissistic household, you build up defenses to keep yourself from getting hurt. And now this person is like, I let down my defenses and this person broke up with me. And now I feel like I can never take off my armor again. So let me say this. The first thing is that when we go through a stressful and traumatic experience, there's a tendency to regress. Okay? So this is like the equivalent of like going back to what you know. It's like, so every now and then, so I'm going to give you guys Dota analogy, okay? So like I usually play position 5, so I usually play support. And every now and then I'll get it into my mind. It's like, I'm going to play mid or I'm going to play carry. And I'm going to show these noobs, like, because I just got destroyed by some hero, like some, you know, carry in the last game. It's like, I'm going to step outside of my comfort zone and I get punished for it, right? I try something, I step out of my comfort zone, I get punished. What happens in my mind? It's like back to position 5, back to what we know, back to safe ground. Like, let's go back to like what works for us. Like we've tried this for years. It's worked for us. Emotional armor is good, right? Like let's go back to our emotional armor. That's what we need. So the first thing is that's actually completely okay. Don't worry about it. Like, I know it sounds weird. I know it sounds like, oh my God, I was able to trust this person. I don't think I'll ever be able to trust again. You'll be able to trust again. You just won't be able to trust anytime soon. And it's going to take some time. Okay. But this is how you learn how to take armor off and put armor on. So like you've been wearing it your whole life and you like, it took you a couple of years, but you figured out how to take it off. And then you got hurt. So then you put it back on, you strapped it back on very quickly. And the second time it'll be easier. And the third time it'll be easier. And the fourth time it'll be easier. Now, each time you take it off, Is there a possibility you'll get hurt again? Absolutely. Will it hurt? Will it suck? Absolutely. But the skill that we want to teach you is how to take the armor off and on, which you have to practice, right? So if you're worried that you won't be able to love anyone ever again and won't be able to trust anyone ever again, like, I think that's a valid worry, but I don't think that's actually what's going to happen, because what your story tells me is that you're someone who probably has really hard problems. Like if you think about growing up with a narcissistic mother and being a serial dater and learning how to take it off the first time, like you've done this before, right? You've completed it once and you'll be able to do it again, but don't rush and don't force yourself, right? So like it hurts. You're feeling that rejection. You're going to protect yourself. Protect yourself. Don't try to take the armor off for 6 months, 1 year, whatever. Right? It's actually completely okay. I know that you're worried about like being, permanently this way, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's just you're hurting right now. And so like, what does the mind do when we're hurt? It protects itself. So as the hurt decreases and as you get over the hurt, you'll be able to take off the armor again. It'll take some work, but you'll get there. So it's okay. All right. So like for those of you who feel like, I took my armor off and now I got hurt and now I can't, like, I'm never going to be able to take it off again. It's okay for you to, oh, wow, we got $1,000 donation. Thank you very much. Be cool, man. And so, sorry, damn it. People donate a lot. I just lose my train of thought. Okay. So you're not going to stay like stuck forever with armor on. Okay. So just a couple of things. Okay. So the first is that, like, I know that this person is feeling like rejected and hurt, but I don't know that this is a betrayal per se, right? So I'd encourage this person to think a little bit about, you can be, really into someone and you guys can be like in a good, healthy relationship. But I think it's important to remember that, people grow over time. It sounds like you were dating this person for 2 years. People grow, they can change, they can sort of evolve as people. And like, it's okay for you to be dating someone and like y'all be in the perfect relationship for that year. But as you each grow as individuals, like y'all could essentially grow apart and like you can sort of part ways, right? So I'm hearing, some of this stuff sounds a little bit strange to me, but, I think it's actually like pretty respectful on I'm assuming it's a woman. First girl. So like, I think if she's in a headspace where she doesn't think that like she's ready for this commitment of relationship and she wants to focus on other issues, I actually think it's sort of like healthy for her to let you know that, right? Here you are looking at rings and she's like, yeah, I'm not sure if this is the relationship for me, or this is not the time to be in a relationship for me. And so I think it's actually, I'd hope that you can see, over time that like this could be actually like a good sort of good move on her part in terms of like not actually betraying your trust. But if she's not feeling the same way you do, then like, I think it's actually really healthy for her to let you know that so that you don't get hurt more down the road. The other thing that I want to talk a second about is like, I'd be careful about boundaries here too. Okay. I'll admit I'm very frustrated and don't entirely understand what she needs, but I respect her decision and beliefs that she needs us to be apart. Although her behavior since the breakup has been somewhat confusing. This you got to be careful about. Okay. So when it comes to a healthy relationship, when this person says, I'll admit that I'm frustrated with not understanding what she needs. So like, this is where like, it is the responsibility of each person in the relationship to communicate what their needs are to the other person. So this is where, I don't want to like bash this person, but I'm going to say a couple of things, which I'm going to infer for a moment. They may be unfair. Y'all need to really stop donating because it's distracting. There was a $69 donation from Anonymous, a $27 and a $250 donation because I want to say something. It's important. Wait, chat. Thank you for the donation. Wait. Okay. So boundaries in relationships are important. If you feel frustrated because this person is not communicating their needs to you, you can be in love with them. They can be amazing. And at the same time, like you got to be a little bit careful, right? Because if someone has like, if she's going through stuff and is not able to communicate that with you in a healthy way, like you got to be really careful because what does that mean down the road? right? What if she's like going through another internal crisis and then like you're kind of confused because you're into this and her head is somewhere else, and like that can be really dangerous. And then the last thing that you got to be careful about is you said, I'm confused about her behavior since we've broken up, which implies that you guys are still like communicating or interacting in some way. And this is where I'd really caution you to be very careful. Because if you guys aren't dating and she's essentially broken up with you, I'd be careful about what kind of relationship you maintain with her. Because even though there may be a part of you that wants to be with her, if she's someone that's not communicating with you in a healthy way and like wants to work through things and is like breaking up with you while she works through stuff, instead of having you be a part of that process and growth, which you don't necessarily have to, right? Depending on what she's trying to do. But generally speaking, when I see healthy relationships, they usually like have communication prior to the, by the way, I'm dumping you because I need to focus on God. Like that's fine. Like in the sense it's healthy because she's sort of letting you know what she needs. And at the other hand, it's like kind of unhealthy for her to kind of blindside you like that, right? So like presumably she didn't make that decision over 24 hours. And if you guys are like in a relationship where you're thinking about stuff that you don't think is going well in the relationship, I strongly encourage you to talk to your partner about it, right? And then like give them the opportunity to help you through it, think through it. You know, I know that a lot of people kind of talk about the relationship I have with my wife. We've struggled a lot. Like we're like, you know, we've talked about breaking up before. We've talked about getting divorced before and things like that. And like, you know, part of that is like, you know, it's about having the conversation and being like, hey, this is how I feel. Where do you think this is going? Is this something that we can work through? And at the end of the day, what I want y'all to understand is like a relationship is a co-op game, right? So if you guys want to succeed, y'all got to co-op. And that involves like facing difficult problems. So if you're thinking about breaking up with someone, don't, you know, I mean, you're entitled to do whatever you want to. Like you can just drop it on them. But I think it's like healthy from like a relationship skills building way to voice your concerns with the other person. And then like give them a chance to respond, because maybe you're like mistaken about something. Maybe they've been feeling the same thing. Maybe like give them an opportunity to kind of work on it. You know, so like give them an opportunity to like play co-op with you, especially if you've been in a relationship for 2 years. Okay, we're going to review comments. Let's see what people on the subreddit think. Let's go, chat. Hey man, first of all, I'm sorry, breakups suck. I'm still healing from mine and that was months ago. I can only suggest what worked for me because I don't know your situation. Go no contact on your ex. This just means that you do not initiate contact with her in any way, shape, or form. You won't ignore her if she talks to you, but you need this time to grieve and go through your feelings. And talking to her when she's not receptive won't help you. Oh, this is great, dude. I love this comment. Because sometimes people think that go no contact, like they interpret that as, you know, don't even respond to her. But like, I think not initiating contact is like really a far healthier way to do it. Okay, journal and meditate. I'm not much of a journaling person myself before the breakup, but I can tell you that this is the last change I needed. I started just under a month ago and I already feel a huge difference. This is the part when you work through unequipping your armor. Beautiful. Dude, love the subreddit. FBC Music. I don't know if that's music or magic. Thanks, Randy M. and Prit and Anonymous for the donations, by the way. Y'all can donate as much as y'all want now. Okay. Oh, and by the way, that confusing behavior towards the breakup might just be that she is being hot and cold because she is also confused. No contact helps with that too. It might sound hard, but at this point, anything that is not, hey, babe, I want us to work this out is just breadcrumbs. Yeah, so when this person says she is confused, I think that's a good way to put it. And we're going to talk about, you know, I want to make a guide to relationships at some point. And I want y'all to understand that like most human beings are ambivalent about most things. So like very few human beings are 100% towards a particular direction. Most of the time, there are reasons that she wants to be with you, and there are reasons why she doesn't want to be with you. And that's why she's been in a relationship for 2 years. So it's not that she's like 100% towards breaking up. It's like she's probably 51% plus towards breaking up, which means that she may be exhibiting a lot of behavior that feels quote unquote hot and cold, because obviously she's getting something out of the relationship. She cares about you to some degree. And I think this is good advice too, that sort of not cultivating a particular kind of thought where you're thinking about her all the time is actually really important. And that's why no contact actually helps. Okay, so thanks. I appreciate that. I've been no contact since we broke up. She initiated all the contact we've had since then, as I've tried to respect her space so she can get what she needs out of this. Cool. One of the hardest things is it seems like I'm doing everything right post-breakup, but I'm not getting better. I typically recover from relationships in a few weeks, but this one just feels different. Yeah, man. First of all, I feel for you. Growing up with narc parents sucks. I don't have any advice for your specific situation, but I will say that many of us who grew up with narc parents have similar core wounding, and issues you describe are very common in children raised in such households. Absolutely true. Specifically, the thing about emotional armor, boundary issues, how to communicate your needs, etc. I found this channel very helpful for advice for people who grew up with narcissistic parents. Interesting. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but there's a video talking with William about healing from CPTSD from narc parents. That's probably pretty helpful. That's a good one. I like that one. Cool. Okay, next. Seriously, everyone, thank you so much for the donations, everybody. You want me to go?
Yeah.
Oh.
I just read
Need some advice towards dating late in life. Oh, 28 late in life. Lulz. After having no prior experience. Would you recommend first focusing on myself and building a direction for myself and then begin dating, or jumping straight in? Now, as I may never be ready, it's tough because dating at this age is odd without any experience and direction in comparison to my peers. Thank you for everything. All right, I feel like I got an answer to this, but you can go if you want.
Go for it.
So I don't think that, I think parallel processing, right? So I think you should absolutely work on yourself and jump in, because I don't think you're ever going to be ready. So don't let ready get in the way of starting. And so, it's tough because dating at this age is odd without any experience and direction in comparison to my peers. That's true that you may be quote unquote behind, but it's been my experience that within 1 year or even less, you can have just as much experience as your peers, even if they've been dating their entire lives. And let me put it this way. So there are some people, so when I used to play Dota, I mean, I still do, but I remember I had a friend who told me that within the first 6 months of playing, starting to play Dota, you'll figure out the skill that people get to within the first 6 months is, generally speaking, go for it, the skill that they'll be at for the rest of their careers. And you see this, right? If you play a game of Dota, myself, for example, if you look at my account, it's started playing Dota in 2011 and is in the bottom 50% of the skill pool. So if you think about it, it's not more time actually leads to you being better at something. What leads to you being better at something is intentional practice. So you can have people who started dating at the age of 15, were Mega Chad high school junior varsity captains, and they still suck at it because they never bothered to be intentional about understanding how a relationship works. And then you've got people who have been dating for 18 months and who are really good at it because they actually pay attention and try and do things like self-reflection. I'll have people who will come into my office who will be 45 and have been divorced 3 times. And I can imagine that if you're this person and you're oh, I haven't dated anyone, I'm 28, I'm behind. I'm bro, don't worry about it, because there are people who are 45 and who are who have 25 years or 20 years of experience and are still suck at it. So don't confuse. So there's a difference between sure, you have no prior experience, but if you're thoughtful about it, if you pay attention, if you iterate, if you work on your game, you can catch up to people within a year, no problem. So I'd say don't wait, right? So start putting yourself out there, start looking for a relationship. By all means, continue working on yourself. This kind of goes back to the first question about don't wait for it, but also like don't go so like desperate that like you need to find it in the next 6 months. So I'd say get started, get some experience, level up a little bit, but be intentional and you can catch up in no time.
I am very excited for you because here are a couple things that I feel like I know about you. You're an amazing communicator already. Like in just these 4 sentences, like you've communicated so much so well. And the other thing is you say no prior experience. Like you might not have dated somebody, but I feel like you do have experience in that. I think you might have made a few conscious decisions on not to pursue certain things, which is experience. Like you have like discernment. I think that you're posing 2 scenarios. You build a direction for yourself and then begin dating, or you jump straight in now. And here's the thing. If you build yourself, and then here you are like making tons of money and you have this big house and whatever, like the person that you attract as your best self, I'm not sure is the partner you want. I feel like you probably want a partner that's going to support your direction for yourself. Hey, so I've never been in a relationship, but I strongly feel the need for one. However, I very rarely find myself thinking I like anyone. And most of the times I do, I then, after some thought, realize I actually might not. How do you distinguish between sexual, intellectual, and romantic attraction? And how do you even know you like someone? Does it just happen? Do you have to go around and look for it? Do you have to like someone a little, get to know them, and then like them a lot? Or do you have to like them a lot in the first place? Thanks.
Good question.
I feel like there's a very simple answer.
I think so too.
What's yours?
What's yours?
No, I asked first.
So answer first.
That is not how it works.
Ladies first, dude. Come on.
No.
It's going to be the same answer.
1, 2, 3. I knew you wouldn't play.
1, 2, 3, what?
Say your answer. I mean, to me, it's like, does she turn you on?
That wasn't my answer.
That wasn't?
No.
What's your answer?
Okay, you do yours first.
I did already.
Can you explain it?
Intellectual and romantic attraction don't matter if there's not sexual attraction for a relationship, anyway. So, does this person turn you on? Does this person float your boat, check your boxes, flip your switch?
Make the magic happen.
Right.
All right.
What was your answer?
I mean, so I'd say like, okay, so. All right, let's go back to this. So like, I find myself thinking I like anyone, and most of the times I do. I then, after some thought, realize I might actually not. How do you distinguish between these 3 kinds of interaction? How do you know you like someone? So like, this sounds to me a little bit like overly intellectual, right? So it's like, I find myself liking someone, and then I think through it, and then I realize I might not. So like, I think that the answer here is about think less and experience more.
In your pants.
Right? So how do you even know you like someone? Like, that's not an answer you can figure out in your head. It's an answer that you have to figure out through experience.
In your pants.
And in your pants. Do you have to go around and look for it? Sometimes. Do you have to like someone a little and get to know them? Sometimes. So I'd say that I'd be careful about what your mind keeps you from doing. And I'd encourage you to, like, if you find yourself attracted to someone, try to have a relationship with them and recognize, like, watch out, because then your mind is going to, like, start generating certain thoughts. Like, oh, you don't like this person for reasons like A, B, and C. But the problem is that your mind can use logic, but, like, the logic that it has is going to be founded on your experience. So you need to collect more data so that your logical function has more to work with. how do you distinguish between sexual, intellectual, and romantic attraction? Like, sexual is something you feel in your pants, right? Intellectual attraction, I imagine, is something that you're like kind of interested in what this person like thinks and says. And romantic is like hard to describe because I think it's primarily emotional. It's not going to be like, it's not going to be something, I mean, sure, you can learn to distinguish it. But you have to feel it. Like a romantic attraction is like, you know, it's something that's felt. It's not something that's logicked to do. So, you know, what I'd say to this person is if you find yourself like overly thinking relationships and convincing yourself that you might not actually like someone, like just pay attention to what your mind is doing, because there's a decent chance that your mind is protecting you from, or you have some kind of fear or anxiety that your logical system is like protecting you.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, like, do you feel like this person's like ashamed of something, or like would only want a relationship with this kind of person, or
I mean, maybe shame, I'm not sure, but I'm just saying, like, you know, it sounds like you have feelings towards someone and you logic your way out of your feelings.
But why would somebody do that?
You know, we'd have to talk to them. I think that, yeah, maybe there's some kind of fear or like negative emotion, but I'd say like experience more, like level up, like jump into the water from time to time and just see how you feel. You know, have a sexual relationship, have an intellectual relationship, and have a romantic relationship. Then you'll be able to tell the difference.
Yeah. Okay. Agree. Hi, Dr. and Mrs. K. I'm 27, male, and I have been single forever. I recently worked through some of my shame that held me back, and now I really like myself. I feel confident that I deserve love and am capable of giving it. However, I'm still anxious reaching out and getting to know women. In the moment, I have no idea what to say or feel scared to introduce myself. After the opportunity passes, I think of multiple ways I could have started a conversation or flirted, and I'll wish I did it and reassure myself that I will have courage next time. But this pattern keeps repeating. I understand that I have to take a risk, but is there a way I can get rid of the panic and fear of embarrassment that arises so I can be ready for the next opportunity? I love this question.
My answer is no.
There's not a way to get rid of the panic and fear of embarrassment?
Nope.
Really?
Yeah, do you have an answer?
I think so.
Dude, this is like, okay, then help us out. Like,
I used to be really scared of coming on stream, but I just blew it a couple of times and yeah, I'm fine. I think you
yeah,
just
but did you get rid of the panic and fear before you came on stream?
No, I just got better at preparing, I think.
That I think you can do.
Yes.
So I think there's definitely something that this person can do, but I don't think you can get rid of the panic or fear of embarrassment. All right, so let's.
So I think you have to increase your comfort and your confidence.
There's a lot of stuff you can do, but can you get rid of the fear? Like, there's no cheat code to get rid of fear of embarrassment.
But if all that there is fear and embarrassment, then that's the only emotion you're feeling. But if you're also feeling excitement and confident and all these other things, then panic and fear is just one of many things. It's not the overwhelming thing that I think causes the paralysis.
Yeah, I think there's a lot that you can do, but I don't think you can get rid of the panic and fear. And I think that's the problem, right? So I think the problem here is that we think to ourselves, oh, how can I get rid of this thing? And you can't get rid of that thing, so you end up stuck. Where there's a whole lot of other stuff you can do to make yourself like more able to engage with other people. So for example, you can let go of like so when you introduce yourself to someone, I imagine that you have a lot of expectations over what is coming out of that introduction.
That's true.
So I think what you can do is let go of those expectations, which doesn't have anything to do with the fear of embarrassment or panic. It's just like, hey, there's a person here. So here's like, one tip that, this doesn't, I can give you guys tips, but they're not good ones because I tried them for a while and I ended up,
with
single.
me or something.
But the whole point is that I didn't use any of my tricks on you. Like I just was like,
what were your tricks?
I'm about to tell you. They were ineffective.
Okay.
So one is that I realized that so when I was in college, right, and I was like 19-year-old Dr. Chad, I was neither a doctor nor a Chad. I had this idea and I had this revelation that if I make friends with a girl, she can introduce me to her friends. So rather than like trying to ask this girl out, like if I just make friends with her, like she'll introduce me to a bunch of her friends and I can ask like 6 girls out instead. So it increases my access to the pool of women. Right?
That's so bad.
I'm telling you, this is shitty strategies.
So bad.
I didn't end up with any of them. Right?
Is that why you wanted to come into my dorm?
No. I'm pretty sure at the point that I was breaking into your all-women's dorm, I'm pretty sure I understood that we were dating. Like,
Y'all,
I had figured it out.
he's literally a legend because they tell stories of this guy that broke into our dorm.
Anyway. So, yeah, it was a legend.
You were, like, literally a legend.
That's where the legend began.
Yeah.
But, years before that, I had come up with all these strategies. I was like, oh, like, I'm going to do this thing, right? And I don't think any of them work, but I'll share it anyway. I think there's an important principle here that is accurate. So the cool thing that allowed me to do, I mean, the strategy is dumb, but the cool thing it allowed me to do is, like, let go of the expectation that something has to come out of this and I have to get this person to like me. Right? And I think that this is where, if you think about, like, what is the expectation that you have with introducing yourself? And if you have a big expectation, that's going to create the fear of embarrassment because you could screw up. But it's like, why would you introduce yourself to people? There are 1,000 reasons to introduce yourself to people that have nothing to do with dating or finding a relationship. And so just cultivate or pick any of those, right? So you're 27 and you're single, and there's someone that you hang out with. And this could be interesting because, like, don't just look at people that you're attracted to, right? Just, like, go out and meet people. Like getting to know women, like, do you have to be attracted to the woman to get to know her?
I was going to say, start hitting on people that you're not super, like, do some low stakes flirting.
Just learn to, like, appreciate human beings for what they are, and, like, the love will come. Right? Like, just like recognize that there are, there are 7 billion human beings on the planet, and each one has something that is, like, incredibly interesting and fascinating about them. That you can engage in relationships with people who, like, you guys can go watch movies together and go play Frisbee together and, like, do all kinds of stuff.
I would have never played Frisbee with you.
Okay. I mean, we've never played Frisbee.
Well, right.
Why? Is it because you don't know how to play Frisbee, or is it something about me? I'm confused.
The physics of Frisbees make no sense.
Okay, so it has nothing to do with me.
It's more about the Frisbee than
so case in point, right? Like, this is what I'm saying is if you guys pay attention, I would never play Frisbee with you. Like, that sounds like it's about me. And if I'm, like, anxious, right, I'm going to think, like, oh my God, what's wrong with me that she would never play Frisbee? But, like, this is the thing, like, human beings, like, she has all kinds of, like, it has nothing to do with me. It has to do with the Frisbee.
Frisbees make no sense.
So this is where, like, if you guys are worried that someone is not doing something with you, like, just think for a second that maybe that has more to do with them than it does with you.
Yeah, and think about, like, if the physics are weird for the things that you're proposing.
That's the problem with the magic. Is that the physics aren't right.
That's what it is.
It's all about the angle.
I knew you were going to say that. 100% knew you were going to say that.
It's because we've talked about it way too much.
So much.
Well, it's all about the physics for me.
If you think
that.
Alok belabors points on stream, you have no idea. All right.
You get wrecked, shitties. Today I am the shitty that was wrecked.
I'm really excited for Buddy, though. That I think if
go back to teaching with chat so that people
go back to teaching
I think
with
they've
chat.
forgotten about Buddy.
No,
my bad, Buddy.
Don't forget about Buddy. Oh, this is teaching what?
Yeah, you got it right.
Okay,
up top.
Thanks.
So instead of just waiting for a high five, you just give people a signal so that they know, right?
I gave you a signal, you just didn't see it. That's why
exactly. That's why I'm doing the verbal signal. Right? You see? Communication.
Teach me about communication, Ayok.
Teach me about making the magic happen.
Oh, no. Anyway, what I was going to say is it sounds like you've been on this thing, right? You got rid of the shame, and now you really like yourself. And, like, you're kind of in this progression. So what I wanted to tell you is keep going. I think this will get easier for you as long as that there's more emotions than panic and fear. Like, I really think this should be fun and exciting for you. So in so much as you can kind of remember that like meeting somebody should be fun. Meeting somebody should not be this scary thing. I think you'll be okay.
Yeah, I just want to say, like, buddy, dude, you're a cool dude.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you have something to offer people. Like, each and every one of you, like, I know it sounds weird, but, like, each and every one of you has something to offer people. And so, like, get to know people. Just, like, try to meet them and try to, like, recognize that every person that you meet could be, you know, your best friend, could be a friend of yours for the next 5 years, could be, like, a great source for, like, you know, a chicken soup recipe. Like, they could teach you how to make cookies. They could do all kinds of stuff. Like, there are a lot of human beings out there. And I think, like, a big part of what I think the reason people think maybe I'm special is because, you know, every time someone comes on stream, like, I recognize that there's someone here who, like, is awesome in some way. Because we are all awesome in some way. I'm not saying it, you know, because, like, oh, man, like, we all have a piece of the divine, man. Like, sure, that's true. But if you, like, think about it statistically, like, there's something cool about every person.
I think you should just ask women for their chicken soup recipes.
I think that would be weird. That sounds like something I would come up with before I met you. Like, oh, like, I have this master plan to ask women for their chicken soup recipes. And they would become friends of mine because I would signal to them that I'm a cook.
Okay. We're gonna go to the next one.
Sounds good. Chat poggers. How y'all doing, chat? How's everybody doing today? Let's begin.
Hey, Dr. K.
Hey, I don't know what to call you.
Oh, you can call me Yuna.
Yuna, okay. Awesome, Yuna. Are you?
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm really good. I'm so sorry I'm late.
I think that's okay. It's not a big
Really?
deal. Yeah.
Okay.
It gives me, you know, sometimes it's a weird, it's sort of like a weird blessing in disguise because I get to actually hang out with chat for a little while, which can be a lot of fun.
Really?
Yeah.
You're so nice. I literally woke up 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
I slept through my alarm.
Yeah, that happens.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. You seem really, really, maybe embarrassed or something about it.
Oh, yeah, a little bit.
And how can I reassure you that you being late is really not a big deal?
I believe you now.
Okay.
I believe you.
Okay, cool. So, Yuna, if you need a minute to wake up, I don't know if you want to grab a cup of coffee or something. You're welcome.
I'm awake. No, I'm awake. I'm awake.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, just a couple things. So sometimes we'll have a quick call with people before they come on stream just to outline that, like, if there's anything that you don't want to talk about or anything you don't feel comfortable talking about, sometimes we'll give people an opportunity to set that boundary. I know that, we didn't have that chance. So I just want to tell you, if there's anything that you feel uncomfortable talking about, you can just say so. If I ask you any question that you feel like is out of line, that's totally fine. Just let me know. Mm-hmm. I'm also going to try to pay attention to things that may make you feel uncomfortable. And then I may ask you for permission to continue. And I may even say, are you sure you want to continue talking about that? Because it seems like there's some emotions coming up or something like that. Is that okay?
Yeah, sounds good.
One other thing is that it seems like... Okay, cool. What are you excited about?
Talking to you.
Okay. What do you want to talk about?
Oh.
Now I'm nervous.
My issues.
Okay, what that's a scary word.
I have a lot of issues.
Okay, what are your issues?
So many issues. Okay. I guess I'm a big workaholic.
Okay.
I feel anxiety whenever I hang out with friends or family.
Okay.
That's I would say that's like my number one issue. I feel guilty about hanging out with friends, and that's probably why I don't have any friends.
Okay.
I think I also have like I don't really do well in like a group setting, like a social group setting.
Okay.
So I get a lot of anxiety. And insomnia. I'm a huge insomniac. I can't sleep. And that's about it.
Sounds like enough to me.
It's enough.
Sounds actually pretty tough, you know?
It's okay. It's all right. I deal with it. I've been dealing with it for a while.
How long have you been dealing with it?
Since like college.
Okay.
High school, college.
And can you tell me a little bit about what high school was like for you?
High school wasn't too bad. High school was just like, I would say high school was pretty normal. I had a lot of time to work on my stuff. I didn't really have any friends, but I had one close friend. But she kind of went a little crazy, I guess, because like her parents are super religious, and then she was like super cool with a lot of things, and then her parents kind of took over her and like told her like if she like listens to music or watches movies or does any of like those type of things, they'll like abandon her. And then so like it was really extreme. And then she and I stopped being friends, and then that was the only thing that was like really like on during high school.
Wow, that's kind of wild.
Mm-hmm.
What's it like to lose your only friend to religious extremism?
It sucked.
What sucked about it?
Bad. Well, because she was like the only person I could talk to about things. So like, losing her kind of sucks a lot.
Have you lost people before?
Yeah, I had another best friend, but she had to move because of visa reasons back to Japan. And then when she moved, she like never spoke to me again, which was weird. But yeah.
And so can you help me understand? So it seems like you usually have maybe like very few friends that are very close.
Yeah.
And what's your understanding of kind of how that happens?
I'm sorry, what do you mean?
So when I think about high school, like I was not very popular by any means, but I had, a little gang. And I think that, most people in high school have sort of a gang or a clique, and they certainly may have particular friends that they're very close to, but I'm not really hearing that you really have a social circle, like even in high school.
No, I never had one.
Do you have a sense, like, did you have like a social circle like when you were younger than high school, like middle school?
No, my childhood was really bad. Like,
what do you mean by that?
So when I was in elementary school, so I was born unlucky, kind of, in Korea. So when you're born close to the lunar year in Korea, your age is like +2. It's weird. And
Okay.
so then the kids get an option to go to school early. So my parents decided that they wanted to like further my education faster. So
Sure.
they put,
Because life is a race.
Yeah, so they put me to school early. Back then, Korea had like capital punishment. So like I couldn't keep up with class because kids, if you're like back when you're a kid, like 1 or 2 years of difference makes like a big difference, right?
Uh-huh.
So I couldn't keep up with like homework. I couldn't keep up with like answers in class. I was like the smallest out of all the kids. And so like whenever we would get something wrong like multiple times, like the teachers would like bring us up and hit us with like a wooden stick in front of like all the kids. But because like I couldn't keep up like 99% of the time, I was always like shown and hit. No, okay. Wait. So this is like first grade too.
Hold on.
Okay,
So you
hold
know
on,
how
hold
I
on.
said that there are going to be some things that may come up because we haven't
Oh,
talked
this is
about.
fine. This is fine. Yeah, because I talked about this like in stream before, so this is fine.
What are you feeling right now?
That I'm sensitive.
What does that mean?
Because I'm like tearing up a bit.
Is being sensitive a bad thing?
No, it's just annoying
What's annoying about it?
because I start crying.
And what's annoying about that?
Because it's, I don't know. I guess there's nothing wrong with it.
There's nothing wrong with what?
Crying.
Then why do you feel annoyed? What does that word mean, annoyed?
Because I'm an easy crier. So like when I talk about emotional stuff, I tend to like cry.
I understand that you do that. I see that you do that. What I'm curious about is your reaction to the crying.
Oh yeah. It's like it's not necessary.
Why isn't it necessary?
Because it's okay to cry. It's because it's
Well,
okay to show your emotions.
Yeah, so maybe I'm misunderstanding you here, but what I'm sort of noticing is that you cry. And then when I ask you about crying, you say it's annoying.
Oh yeah.
So the annoying, and then when you say it's okay to cry, like I'm a little bit confused because it seems like there's a part of you that feels sensitive or annoying or like maybe you're weak or something like that and you shouldn't cry. And there's a part of you that, no, it's totally fine to cry. That's kind of what I'm getting from you. I'm getting kind of mixed signals. Is that accurate?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Okay. So I know this is going to sound weird, but I think what we're going to try to teach you is that you're okay.
Okay.
And the weird thing about that is that part of teaching you that you're okay doesn't mean just accepting yourself for crying. It also means accepting yourself for being annoyed at crying.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense, or is that kind of weird?
Yeah.
So like it's weird, but if you feel judgment towards yourself, like, oh, I'm stupid, I shouldn't cry, I'm too sensitive. I want you to voice those feelings too, so we can learn how to sit with those as well.
Okay.
Because I think in a weird way, what you're doing is you're doing to yourself what your teachers used to do to you.
Yeah.
You say yeah as if that makes sense. Can you explain that to us?
So like you're basically saying like punishing myself by making myself feel like it's not okay to cry or
Exactly. Is that what you think you may do sometimes?
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot.
I think so too.
A lot.
I think maybe being a workaholic has something to do with that too. What do you think?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. All right. So we could kind of go back to the story, but like, first of all, that's like, that sounds shocking and very difficult to go through as a child.
Yeah, because what would happen is like, how kids learn from adults.
Yes.
So like, when the teachers would like, hit me, like the other kids, like during playtime or whatever, would just kind of gather up and hit me too. And so like it kind of, so that was like my elementary school experience. And then like, and then my dad got a job in the US, and I was taken away from like my parents didn't know about any of this because I never told them.
And what's your understanding of why you never told them?
Well, what would happen is like my parents would be called to school, and my teachers will tell my parents that I'm not doing so good and that I'm not very smart and I'm kind of stupid. So like my parents decided to like put me through like arts, like direction of art, because they thought I was like too dumb to
get a real job.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know why I didn't tell them. I think I just thought that everything that I was doing was just wrong. So, like at that time.
Do you ever feel that way now, that sometimes your mind just kind of feels like everything you're doing is wrong?
In some ways, yeah. In some ways, yeah.
Okay. So let's just put a quick pin in that. We can maybe come back to that thought or that feeling later.
Yeah.
And so what happened when you moved to the US?
It was really nice because like I was really shocked that like you can make mistakes and like teachers don't hate you. And, like other kids don't bully you, and like that was not allowed. And it was really nice. But I had trouble making friends because of the language barrier, and
Sure.
but that's when I became friends like with my Japanese friend, and because she was also she also came to the US, and we kind of like learned and hung out together.
And then how old were you when you moved to the US?
8.
And how did you do in school when you moved to the US?
I was like, so I have like severe ADHD. So I did my best because like, my parents didn't want me to get any like B's. So like I did all right, but I didn't get like straight A's all the time.
Mm-hmm. What's your understanding what your cat is doing right now?
She loves me.
Does she do that? Or does she just come?
She cuddles. She wants cuddles 24/7.
Okay. So this isn't, it's not like she can tell you're suffering or anything and is coming over to give you some TLC. Sometimes
she's timed really well.
Okay.
And I know like whenever I leave to take out the trash, she starts crying. Like yowling. So I know she's very attached to me. Yeah, she's cute. She's really, really cute.
She does seem very comfortable.
Yeah, she's like to snuggle like right here when I go to sleep. She's very cute.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And so it sounds like you did okay in school, but your parents put some pressure on you, but you were generally relieved when you moved here.
Yeah, yeah.
And then
big relief.
And what was it like to have a friend?
Oh, it was nice. Oh, it was really nice. I remember like back when I was in South Korea, I had like one friend. I managed to convince one friend to come over, or like to convince a person to come over. and play and hang out. And I had so much fun. And then when that person left, I cried so much during like that time because it was like, and then, so now when I had a friend who came over all the time, it was awesome.
And when did your friend leave to Japan?
Like in middle school, like end of middle school, I would say, like mid or end. I can't remember exactly. I think middle of middle school, because I had another friend that I was really close to, but she also moved.
Seems like
She
your
was
friends
like-
always leave you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that funny?
No, I laugh when I laugh when I feel sad sometimes. Like it's like my
Yeah.
go-to.
Yeah, it's
I
kind of
laugh when I'm awkward. I laugh when I'm sad. Sometimes I laugh when I'm pissed off. It's like my go-to
it's very protective, isn't it?
state. Yeah.
What do you think about that sort of like growing up and having your friends like, because here's kind of what I'm envisioning. So first of all, you were taught early on that you suck. Right? Like that's what I'm hearing. Like your teachers used to like you were put into the situation where like you were, the deck is stacked against you.
Yeah.
And like it sounds really, really hard. But you were taught this lesson, and I didn't occurs to me that I was a little insensitive to say that, but honestly, that was the best way that I could encapsulate like what I imagine a child like that feels like. Where your teachers would like publicly shame you and sort of tell you again and again and again that you're not good enough, you're not good enough, you're not good enough. And then furthermore, the other kids would be like, oh, she's the one who's not good enough and we're supposed to hit her. Okay. And so you were taught that other children were like not people that you could connect with. And then you managed to find a friend, another little awkward immigrant who maybe has language barriers, and you can connect to her. And then she leaves and then never talks to you again.
Yep.
And how did you feel? Like what thoughts went through your head when she left, and not just when she left, but when she didn't?
Well, I think back then, because I'm 30, I'm turning 31 really soon. So like back then, it was hard to communicate outside of, because like there wasn't social media. There was only email, right? And she didn't have like a number or cell, but she did give like me like her dad's email. And I wrote her and stuff and like her address, but I just never got like a response back. So I didn't really think much of it. I just thought, oh, she probably can't, like, because it's her dad email or.
So it sounds to me like you attributed reasons to her not responding.
Yeah.
And is there a part of you that sort of felt like, even though all that stuff may have been true, that she sort of didn't care to respond or didn't care enough about you?
I think like, I guess when I think about it now, it feels like that. I think back then I just kind of, because I tried for like 4 years.
It's a long time.
Yeah, so I didn't like, I don't know. I didn't really think like she doesn't care about me. I just constantly think, oh, she probably just can't reach back for some reason.
Okay. And so it sounds like you made another friend in middle school.
Yeah, I've made another friend, but she actually also moved away out of state.
And how did you feel about that? Do you remember?
I thought, oh crap. I was sad about it, but I was like, oh, I'll make another friend in high school.
Then you made another friend in high school.
Yeah, I did. I made another friend in high school. and she and I were really close.
Were.
Yeah, because she kind of just suddenly like became, because she was like, her family was super religious,
Mm-hmm.
but she herself was still religious, but she wasn't fanatical. And then like she would hang out with me all the time. We would go watch movies, we would play games, we would listen to music. And like her parents like found out and like told her like, you know, if she continues to watch movies,
Mm-hmm.
listen to music, then they'll like abandon her,
You
like
know, this
ostracize her.
yeah, like shun her.
Yeah.
This sounds really crazy, but it seems like life conspires to take people away from you.
Yeah. Oh, but I don't feel. Yeah. I sometimes feel like that.
That's weird. Is that just, are you just unlucky or what's going on? Like, how do we understand that? Is it just a feeling? Like, how do you make sense?
I have no idea. It just happens.
Yeah. Do you feel lonely?
Yeah. But I mean, I have one really close friend now, so like I feel less lonely now because I feel like when I have one, like all I need is like one close friend.
Sure.
And so now I feel like less lonely, I would say.
Let me think about how to say this. I can see that you can survive with just one close friend.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I think it's really sad when people can grow accustomed to being okay with the bare minimum of what they really deserve in life. It's actually one of the saddest things to me. Is when
Really?
people get used to it. Yeah.
Oh.
What do you think about that?
So I should make more friends.
Do you want more friends?
I do have friends. Like I have but I have like one close friend and then I have like friends that I can hit up sometimes now because I made a lot of streamer friends. But I also feel bad because I don't have a lot of time to hang out with a lot of them because I'm too busy working.
Sure. Yeah. Can I think for a second?
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out where to go. Can I just think out loud for a second? And maybe you can help me. So first is that we can continue talking about your feelings and trying to explore where things come from and, how you feel and what you think about stuff. You asked me an interesting question. You said, should I make more friends? And so that is that's kind of like a problem solving sort of thing. So I don't always give people advice. I don't tell people that they should do X, Y, or Z because who am I to say? I mean, and my gut reaction to that answer is it can be hard to have just one friend because life circumstances can take people away from you. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so there's a part of me that sort of says you should diversify so that if someone has something going on, then you're not stuck friendless for a while and forming one connection. But, that's just sort of, it's an intellectual answer. I don't know that you should make friends. I think it's that's a question for you to decide.
Yeah. I see.
And then there are a couple of other things. So we can kind of continue talking about friends and stuff like that. We can switch gears, but I think it's all going to come back to this because I think it didn't, I don't know why, but it feels to me growing up the way that you did is going to significantly give you social anxiety.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we can talk a little bit about what social anxiety feels like in the moment. What is it that keeps you from making friends? Why is it that you make sort of one friend at a time? Like, how does that happen? And why doesn't that number become 2? And I suspect that that has something to do with the way that you interact with them, not the way that they interact with you. That you probably do certain things until you find a friend, and then you stop doing those things. Because then you have a friend.
What do you mean?
I'm not sure. That's why we can kind of talk about that.
Okay.
So I'm because it is weird that like there's got to be a reason why you have one friend at a time, basically. Like that can't just be coincidence. It has to do, you know.
Yeah.
I'm going to sort of use a completely like different kind of random and maybe inappropriate example, but like, you know, sometimes I've worked with people who have a lot of affairs. And it's like, it's not a coincidence that they keep having affairs. It's like they're doing something to put themselves in a particular situation where they create a particular kind of social situation. And in your case, you know, I don't think it's just like there's like just randomly one person that you can connect with. I think something happens about, you know, once you make a friend, you probably like either you start spending a lot of time with them so you don't have time to make other friends, or since that's enough for you, you stop eating because you feel full. Or not full, but you just don't feel hungry enough.
I see. Yeah.
What do you think about that?
That's interesting. I never thought about it that way. I think like for me, what happens is like I work a lot because like it's where I feel like the safest.
Yep, we're gonna get to that in a second. Good, I'm glad you realized that. Saved us a lot of time.
Yeah, and then like and like I think I choose that one friend because like with this friend I don't feel anxiety when I hang out with him because he lets me work when I'm hanging out. So like I think I'm trying to figure out my reasons why like I only choose that one friend at a time. I think I don't know, because I connect really well when I have like one close friend, because I do have like other friends I can hit up. I think it's just that whenever I play games or I'm away from my work fully, I get really anxious to go back to working. So like I guess like my close friend understands that. So like when we hang out, I'm still working and he's totally cool with it.
I also find myself being really curious, Yuna, and this is definitely a boundary that we don't have to talk about, but I'm really curious about your romantic relationships and if you've had them. And that you know, some people aren't comfortable talking about that. So I think it could be informative. And our goal here is to help you understand yourself. And at the same time, I can imagine that you of all people would be quite private. So I...
Coffee and porridge.
Oh, porridge?
Oh, just so you know, coffee doesn't work on me, so don't worry.
Uh-huh.
No, I know you smell my fish porridge.
What kind of coffee?
Coffee from the Mamak store? I don't know.
No, okay.
It's just coffee. Actually, yeah. I used to be super good at this game. There's just me and some other dude spamming 2 lights.
The 2-wide battle. Isn't it because he killed you with it, so you did it back to?
Yeah.
Oh, no, we should play Tetris.
Fuck no.
What?
Are you Tetris play?
When I first started, the Monica bully me with the Tetris
What's
factory.
dude?
No,
Are you
Cheeseman Factory, Cheeseman
are you
Factory.
rated?
I'm like 20k.
Oh.
You should bully me with the Cheeseman Factory.
It's called the JJ Cannon, bro. Get it right.
Hey, fuck off, Leia. I saw the TP's coming.
Get on Tetris, get on Tetris.
I'm not playing Tetris. I'm going to watch a new Wait for Daily video while I eat my dinner.
On a loser.
I can get on.
7 minutes. 2:30.
Sure, actually, but I need to go and test out my settings first so you can continue playing also.
Is that fake
Then-
promise?
I have a new PC, and all my settings are gone.
Oh. Wait, how long is this? 7 minutes. 2:30 BPM.
Lightning is everything I see.
This should be easy.
5 minutes later.
Dude, I want to be fast.
I have to shred
Where's-
and grind.
Where's Flaro? Where's Flaro? Flaro, come back.
Holy
How
fuck!
do you be fast? How do you be fast?
Holy fuck!
My hands! Fuck! Oh, I think I understand why there are no fill scores.
Karumi can combo game again, just like on the DT3.
Mustache!
Aye.
For the combo gamer mustache.
Listen, man.
Yo, guys, want to watch a video? Hold on. Whoa! Who am I sub to? Who the is this? Oh my god, someone.
I want to steer clear of that if you don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, I can talk about. Let me think.
Think about it for a second.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I don't know if I want to get into.
Makes perfect sense. I think we have a
Yeah.
lot of stuff, a lot of other things that we can talk about that'll be very productive.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the anxiety of being a workaholic. Like, help me understand what you mean by anxiety when you're not working.
When I'm not working and I'm like doing something else, like playing games or socializing, I'm like, I feel like I have this, like, I don't know why. I know it's not right, but I feel like I'm wasting time because I'm like, oh, but I have to do this. If I can get this done, or and then, but I don't actually actively think this. I just feel it.
Mm-hmm. What do you feel?
Like, like impatience, like
You're pointing to your
there's-
stomach.
Yeah, like I don't know how to explain it. It's like when you take a lot of caffeine. It's like I don't know how to explain it. It's I feel anxious.
Do you remember what you? This is going to be kind of a weird shot in the dark, but do you remember what? Did you know when you were growing up in Korea that you were going to get called on and that you were going to get the answer wrong? Did you see it coming?
Oh yeah.
Do you remember
Always.
how you felt when you saw it coming?
Scared.
Is that the way that you feel now when you feel anxious?
Yeah, I would say, yeah.
How similar is the feeling on a scale of 1 to 10? 10 being exactly the same, 1 being completely
It's
different.
similar. I would say it's similar. It's not exactly the same because back then it was scarier.
Yeah, so I think what I'm hearing is that the quality of the feeling is the same. The intensity of the feeling is lower.
Yeah.
And the more you work, the more the feeling goes away.
Yeah, I just feel safer when I'm working.
Yep. And so I know this sounds kind of weird, but like this is going to be a real stretch, okay? So if it doesn't make sense, totally my fault. But I think the reason you're a workaholic is because that's the way that your body has learned how to avoid going up in front of the classroom and getting smacked with a stick.
I think that it's true, but I also feel like I'm a workaholic because I feel like all my worth is tied to my work for some reason.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's not for some reason. It's the same. I mean,
Okay.
Right? So, like, let's think about this. What was your worth tied to when you were growing up?
Me answering questions, right?
Your performance, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you were taught that you were like not a good human being because your performance is bad.
Yeah.
And now, like, when your performance is bad, how do you feel, Yuna?
Really, 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 really bad.
And do you feel like you did when you were up front in front of a classroom? And
the quality is the same, like you were saying. Definitely not as intense.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you used a lot of reallys there.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Right? You're like really, 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 really bad.
You're right. That's true. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I just never realized. It's just like so many connections are being made. I didn't realize it before. What do I think about it?
You could just sit for a second and process, but yeah, or you can say something, whatever you want to do.
It makes sense. I would say it makes sense, and I guess it's not necessary for me to feel that way.
Sure it is. What do you mean it's not necessary? Help me understand that.
I think I'm kind of getting confused. I think my mind is doing like my mind is kind of getting confused, I think.
What are you confused by? I just said something that was kind of weird and contradictory. So if that's confusing you, that was the intention of my statement.
Oh, no, I'm trying to figure out like how I feel about it, but I don't feel good about it.
Feel good about what?
I don't feel good about that. I punish myself for not doing well.
Yep. So remember when I said acceptance is not just saying it's okay to cry, it's also accepting what?
Wait.
Accepting that you judge yourself for crying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So I think you're doing the same thing here.
Mm-hmm.
Where you're judging, you're punishing yourself for whatever the reaction is. It sort of doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Even in this discussion, what I'm kind of hearing from you is that I think part of the reason that what you describe as confusion, and I can understand why it feels like confusion. Now I'm really maybe confusing you, so apologies. But I think part of what's confusing is that like you're making revelations and you're also judging those revelations and telling yourself at the same time, oh, this should be different.
Mm-hmm.
Is that going on?
Yeah, I would say so.
And what are you saying about yourself that should be different? Tell us what should be different about you.
Well, I feel like I should I guess I should just not feel that. I mean, I guess I should just not feel like I'm judging. Like I shouldn't judge myself.
Yep, but that in and of itself is you judging yourself for not judging yourself.
Oh no, I don't know what to do.
Exactly. That's the point. That's the point. No. You're good. That's what you do about it. Like you see, like it goes on forever.
Yeah.
You can judge yourself for not judging yourself for not judging yourself. You can you just keeps going on forever.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm pointing it out to you, because as long as you judge yourself, like as long as there's any kind of judgment towards yourself, it's never going to work. It's actually the same thing that has put on a mask. But it's the same lack of acceptance and judgment towards yourself for not being good enough. And you see how quickly it moves? It's like, oh, you should be more accepting of yourself. How dare you be less accepting of yourself, Yuna? That's a judgment.
Yeah.
Right? And so this is what happens is there's a part of your mind that when you feel kind of insecure or anxious is going to tell you, Yuna, you need to do better.
Yeah.
And even in this conversation, it's like, it's telling you like, oh, Yuna, like you need to be less confusing. You need to be able to listen and understand what he's saying. Like you're going to be judging yourself constantly, whereas you're doing great. I can guarantee you if there's any communication problem in this conversation, it's totally on me because I can be really hard to talk to. What do you think about that?
Oh my God, I just dropped. No, you're awesome. I think you're really easy to talk to. I think you're right. I shouldn't judge.
You're doing it again.
Oh my God. Okay, wait. I don't know what to do.
I know it's really confusing. It's really confusing, right? So this way, like I know it sounds weird, but at the very beginning, I said it's okay to judge yourself.
So, wait.
Because if you say it's okay to judge yourself, you're not judging yourself for judging yourself. You're accepting yourself.
Okay, I see.
See, it's weird.
Yeah.
And it feels really foreign to you. Like you don't know how to do that. You don't know how to accept yourself.
Know.
That's really weird.
How do you do that?
It's really confusing and it's hard. Trust me.
Yeah.
Right? Because as a kid, you were taught how to judge yourself. You were judged by your teachers. We haven't really touched on parents, so we'll probably steer clear of that but you're probably judged by your parents because all of our parents judge us. You know, you should do art because you're not smart enough, etc. You know, and I mean, they wanted to do the best that they could for you, and so their heart was in the right place. But sometimes, you know, that can still leave psychological imprints. And so I know it sounds really, really weird to accept yourself. And I know it's going to be really, really confusing for you, but I think it's going to be like really, really transformative when you learn how to do it. Because then suddenly you don't have to be a workaholic. The only friends that...
Oh, I like being a workaholic.
Yes, you do. So let's talk about that.
It feels nice.
What feels nice about being...
I love working.
What do you love about working?
It's fun.
Okay.
It's fun. It's like, but my work is like my hobby as well. Mm-hmm. So, I love doing it, and I get really proud when I get proud of the stuff that I create. At the same time, I have a really severe imposter syndrome. Mm-hmm. So I'm proud of it, but at the same time, I can't be. It's weird. Yep. It's like, because in my head, I'm like, oh, it's not a big deal because, you know, if I can do it, like, why is it that special? Because I did it, so it must not be that special. Because if I can do it, anybody can do it. So I guess, yeah, I struggle with that a lot. I struggle with a lot of like being proud of the things. Like I am proud. Like I tell myself that to be proud of it and to be happy with it. But like I struggle with that a lot because I don't actually feel it.
Yep. What do you feel?
I don't feel anything. Like I actually when I make something and I create something and I know it's good, like in my head, I know it's good. Because, you know, I get told that it's good, but like I myself, I tell it to myself, but I don't feel like, oh, this is awesome. Oh, what I created was awesome. I tell it to myself. I don't feel it. I don't know how to explain it.
Do you feel like it's bad? Or you just don't feel anything?
Yeah, I feel like it's bad because I'm like, I shouldn't be so prideful because, like, you know, at the end of the day, I mean, I don't know. I keep putting myself down, honestly, like when I think about it, because I always say, like, oh, I shouldn't be that proud because, like, my code sucks. There's so many different ways to make this better. Like, you know, it's so messy. You know, there's so many people that's way better than I am with coding. And so, like, why should I shouldn't feel proud of it because it, at the end of the day, it kind of sucks. So I need to do better. I need to fix it. I'm not doing enough. All of this stuff.
Yeah. Right. So here's what I'm hearing is that it's not good enough.
Yeah.
Right? Because Yuna isn't someone who is good enough.
Yeah.
So even though, so this is the tricky thing, is that there's like 8-year-old Yuna or 6-year-old Yuna or 4-year-old Yuna or whenever you started school. And then there's almost 31-year-old Yuna.
Mm-hmm.
And almost 31-year-old Yuna knows that what she puts out is good. But inside, there's like 6-year-old Yuna who, like, every time she does her best, what happens to her?
She gets, like, knocked. You know what's funny? I have ADHD, but I want to tell you a funny story.
Please. I'd love to hear.
So one time I found a wooden stick, like a big long wooden stick. I don't know how I found it. It was a big long stick that it's the stick that you used to hit people with, right? Like the same ones that they use in the schools and stuff. I found the stick and I was proud of finding the stick. And I brought it to school because to defend myself. And then instead my teacher took the stick and used that stick to punish me for like the rest of, that was like her favorite stick. So yeah, it feels like I don't know why I segued into that story. I just, when you told me like how do I feel about me getting hit, like discuss to yourself, like me getting hit, like I just, that one was like the most shocking, like.
Yeah, I think that your mind is not ADHD there. I think that is forming a really important connection. That is actually exactly what we're talking about. Because I want to tell you, I'm going to interpret that story for you in a way that, I mean, sometimes it just blows my mind. So what that story tells me is when Yuna tries to do something good in life, what happens? When she tries to take control,
it gets turned around. Like,
right? So like every time you tell yourself, I'm doing a good job now. This is good. I should be proud of this. Inside is the girl who's like, we tried to take control. We tried to move forward. We tried to get better and we got beat.
Yeah.
Like, it's like that's the most important story you've shared, because it's the story that taught you that you can't change your life.
Yeah.
It's one thing to have your life against you. It's another thing to try to change it and be like beat with that stick for the rest of elementary school.
Yep.
So like when you tell yourself that like, hey, I'm a good person now. I make content that's good. I should be proud of this code. That's you picking up the stick again.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a part of you that's like, we've been down that road before. It does not end well. Yeah. Who are you to pick up that stick? You better just leave it on the ground.
Yeah. Sorry. I mean, I'm not gonna. Sorry.
No, so what I want you to say is I'm sorry for crying and it's okay for me to be apologetic for something that I shouldn't be apologizing for. You just cry, just sit. You want a tissue or something?
Yeah, I'm gonna get one. Sorry.
Let's see if she figures this out.
Okay.
Okay. I'm just gonna stand up for a second. No, I'm kidding.
Okay,
So
okay.
before, it's just to feel you. So before we had our interview, I was telling you I like to connect with Twitch chat. So someone asked a question in chat: what should you do when someone starts crying? And then I was telling them that you have to learn how to sit with it. And then someone in chat was like, "Can you stand with it?" And I was like, "Yes, you can stand with it." Anyway, it's just a little. But yeah, it's. So what are you feeling now? Why'd you start crying?
I felt sad, and then I felt embarrassed, and then I felt when I said sorry, I felt bad about that, and then I felt so I need to say sorry again, and then I felt bad about that. Yeah, it's like it's a whole cycle.
Yeah, and what are you feeling now?
Giggling.
Yeah, right. So I think so. You asked me earlier, what do I do about that? And this is exactly what you do about it.
Laugh
you
about
kind of like, huh? Yes, absolutely.
Oh.
Right. So like you sort of like recognize the absurdity of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then all you can do is sort of laugh.
Mm-hmm.
You don't fight against it. You don't try to change. You're just like, oh, look at how crazy that is. That's ridiculous. and that's actually the first step. So there's a funny kind of tradition in Zen Buddhism that when Zen Buddhist masters become enlightened, the first thing that they do is laugh.
Yeah.
And it's because they realize that all this work that they were doing was never necessary.
Yeah.
And so as best as you can, just kind of notice it and just be like, okay, like, because at some point, I think something magical happens when you stop apologizing and judging yourself is you wind up laughing. You're like, well, nothing I can do about that. Lol. Right?
Lol. Yeah.
And then what happens is, I know it sounds kind of weird, but like over time, as you learn how to do that, the things that and then what's going to happen is the judgment is going to start to melt away.
Mm-hmm.
As you learn how to, like, you're accepting it because you're saying, oh yeah, you're not trying to change anything. You're just sort of saying like, okay, like that's ridiculous. Like that's not going to go anywhere. Lol. And then you move on with the rest of your day. And every time you do that, every time you become aware of the cycle actually starts to break apart a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the cycle that I think is really causing you a lot of suffering. And it's a cycle that you've been doing for a long time. Sounds like, 20 plus years. The other thing, Yuna, is that, a lot of times we'll talk for a while, like we would be sort of like a little bit past the halfway point. But I'm noticing that you've actually you've discovered a lot in a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to do something a little bit unorthodox, which is I'm going to give you the option to sort of stop here. Like if you feel like this is enough for you to kind of process, and it's not like I want you to pick one or the other, because I still have a lot of things. I mean, you said earlier that, you feel the safest when you're working, and that's just too juicy for me. Like, I have to ask you about safety and all that. I mean, there's a lot of stuff I'm still super curious about. I think there's a lot to learn, but at the same time, I'm noticing that you've been through a lot and you've kind of discovered a lot in like a relatively short amount of time. And I want to give you the chance to kind of just hit the pause button and kind of process and work through that. And then maybe like we can revisit down the road. What do you think? Keep going or?
I want to talk more for some reason.
Yeah.
It feels
go for
nice.
It. Okay. What do you want to talk about?
I feel the safest when I'm working.
Okay. Let's talk about it. So tell me about tell me about feeling safe while you're working.
I think it's just, I feel safe when I'm working because I feel like I'm progressing every time I work. It's like, oh, I'm progressing and I'm doing, it's helping in some way. And then every time I'm not working, I'm like, I feel like all my stuff that I worked on, like it's like falling apart because I'm not working.
Mm-hmm.
And I always like, I'm like, oh, because I spent these 2 hours hanging out with my friends, now I'm less ahead than I would have been if I spent those 2 hours working. And I know it's wrong, and so I correct myself in my brain, but I have like
Why is it wrong?
Because it's totally fine for you to hang out with your friends.
Is it though?
Oh, it's not?
I don't know. I mean,
I'm
you're
confused.
saying that. No, I'm genuinely trying to understand what you think. Like, because I mean, every time you hang out with your friends, you're falling behind. I thought, like, you could be working.
Yeah, it's like logically, I know, like, it's totally okay to hang out with your friends, but like my negative spiral my negative thoughts always like kind of like go in, and then I always feel like that weird feeling in my stomach, and then like once I'm back working, once I'm back progressing, then I feel like better. And I have this issue like with not just friends but with family too, where like I feel bad about spending time with family. Like I want to, like I always have this desire when I'm working, oh, I want to spend time with my family, I want to spend time with my family. And then when it gets to the spending time with my family, I start feeling like all of that again, and then I'm no longer like there paying attention, and I'm just like, I need to work. And it's like, it's really weird because like in my mind, I'm like, oh no, I shouldn't feel this way. It's not right. But like, I can't help feeling it. And I want to get rid of that.
It sounds really like you're kind of stuck. Like, if you work, then you're kind of missing out on your family. But even if you try to spend time with your family, your mind automatically goes to work and doesn't even let you enjoy time with your family.
Yeah, that's the same type of thing I feel with friends as well. Like,
you mentioned guilty earlier when you were hanging out with friends. Is that what you mean by guilty?
Guilty. Guilt is like when you feel like when you did something wrong, right? And then you feel bad about it. I think so. That's the feeling.
How do you feel when you hang out with your friends?
Anxiety, wanting to go back to work. Also feeling like I'm not doing a good job at performing
as a friend,
likable person, as a friend, as a caring person. I judge myself a lot. I'm noticing.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
Because I always feel like I'm not good enough.
Yeah, right. So then the question becomes, why do you feel like you're not good enough?
I think it's just like patterns of my life. Probably.
Which ones? Help us understand that.
The things that happen in childhood. Even when I made friends, they left without it being our faults at all.
Yep.
Like we never got into a fight or with circumstances. And then also with the past work that I had in career as well. they always kind of made me feel like I wasn't good enough, even when I did a good job. And I think one of the biggest reasons as well is also like I guess I had some relationships that made me not feel good enough to. Sure. Since I was like, I did have a relationship where I was cheated on, and that was like not cool, I guess.
Sure. I can imagine that. I know you'd expressed a boundary there, so I'm gonna just try to infer a little bit.
Yeah.
Just because you shared something. Can I just
workplace? Yeah.
No, go for it. Sorry.
It's workplace stuff as well. Whenever I outperformed, I was like, in my opinion, man, I don't know if I should go into this either because I think I would just go very simply. Like whenever I outperformed at work,
whenever you picked up the stick,
there was never. I don't know. Like I don't know if I should go into like how I was treated in my last job.
I want you to think
in my last few jobs.
We're going to pause for a second. So, one of the really important things about these conversations is that they're supposed to be on balance for your benefit. And so I certainly don't want you to share anything that could negatively impact your life in some way.
Yeah.
So if you want to maintain relationships with people, so I wouldn't talk about that if that's a concern that you have.
Yeah.
I think we've got plenty.
Okay.
So I can try to infer a couple of things. Okay. So one is that, and when it comes to a romantic relationship and getting cheated on, I can imagine that would feed this cycle that you have of your head telling you you're doing good enough and it's not your fault. And then some of the business down here telling you like I can imagine, like, because you talk about this conflict that you have where like up here you tell yourself it's enough. I can hang out with my friends. I do a good job. I should be proud of what I do. And then like in here and then in your stomach, you've got these other feelings that are like, no, it's not good enough. Like you're not actually doing a good job. Like anyone could do this. And I can imagine that your romantic relationships feed that fire of your head telling you one thing and then your stomach telling you something else.
Yeah.
And so you feel safe when you work.
Working is nice.
Yeah.
It feels nice to work.
What feels nice about it?
I'm doing something that I love. I also feel like if for some reason in my head, like I also have like these thoughts of like I can't depend on other people, but I can. I know like I can. Like I think I have like control issues when it comes. Like I can control my work. I can make it good.
You don't have control issues. You don't know how to trust people because all of your friends have abandoned you.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mean to be like too blunt about it, but like, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you say control issues, what I think that probably means is that you feel like you need to be in control of every little thing with your work. Is that what you mean by control issues?
Oh, actually, no. Actually, no. Actually, you're right. It's not really a control issue. I think what you said was more correct. It's more that I feel safe in my work because like they'll never leave, I guess. Mm-hmm. And also like I just can depend on it because it's just me, myself, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And like I can depend on the fact that if I work hard, then I can make something awesome. And like it'll be there for me. And then yeah, I guess that. And then with like people, it's like I guess
I don't think you can depend on them to be there for you.
yeah. I think that's like the feelings like that. I think.
Yeah. I mean, I thought you said something pretty profound when you said your work will be there for you.
Yeah.
Right? Sounds very safe to me.
Yeah, I like working.
Okay, so let me ask you a quick question. So, you said earlier that it feels good to talk. So I don't know if I should ask you more questions or share like maybe a little bit of a hypothesis or try to explain to you what I'm hearing. What do you think would be better?
Oh, I would love to hear your thoughts.
Okay. So I think it's tricky because I think you're one of these people who genuinely enjoys their work and finds it gratifying.
Yeah, yeah.
And it is doing things for your psychology that I think are holding you back.
Mm-hmm.
So the mind does this a lot where like we'll find one thing that works for us and then we'll do it to excess and then actually like hurt ourselves in the process. Like, for example, I like playing video games. And if I'm not careful, I really genuinely love video games. Like I think they're so much fun and I really enjoy playing them. But if I'm not careful, what I like about video games is if I have a hard day at work, I can play a game and have some fun and relax, get some dopamine, spend time with my friends. And it's like a genuinely like positive and fun experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I can also use video games as an escape.
Yeah.
Right? I can start to rely on them to like turn away from some of the things that I don't like about my life. And I'm hearing sort of the same thing from you about your work.
Mm-hmm.
That there's a lot of genuine pride. There's a lot of genuine fun. That a lot of times when you work, it doesn't even feel like work.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. And you're lucky and you're grateful and all that good stuff. And at the same time, work is a safe place that allows you to not face certain things. Because those things are painful. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree.
So what's painful outside of work? What feels unsafe outside of work?
Like, you mean like my feelings?
Sure.
I guess
what is
it's like, I would say the feelings I feel and the negative thoughts that I get. I would say that feels unsafe.
Are there particular thoughts that you have outside? Like I'm envisioning a particular day where, maybe someone messages you and they're like, hey, do you want to hang out? And then in your mind or in yourself, in your whole being, you have this little war where there's some thoughts and feelings that are telling you one thing. And then what happens is you're like, no, I'm going to work instead. And then like everything kind of calms down and you feel safe. So what was it that scared you back to work in that moment?
I usually think whenever someone asks me like, hey, do you want to hang out? I go to like my work first. I'm like, oh, I really do want to hang out, but I have to do this, and this, and this, and this. If I don't do these things, then I'm going to feel bad about it. And I know that when I'm hanging out, I'm just going to be thinking about those things to do and feeling bad about it. And then but then like in principle or like logically, I'm like, but I should hang out because it's good for me. I guess because like the feelings that I get, I don't want to, even though in my mind I'm like, you should.
Can I think for a second?
Yeah.
I'm going to drink some water too.
Yeah, water.
Okay, Yuna, this is going to sound weird.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit unsatisfying.
Okay.
But unfortunately, I actually have an answer for you.
Okay.
So I think I know like how to fix this. I say this rarely because usually things are complicated and I usually am wrong. But for whatever reason, I don't know if it's just because you've been really, really open. You shared that story like really early. Like I think you've been incredibly authentic. I think you're also incredibly insightful. And even your subconscious mind is like working to solve these puzzles for you. Like you came up with that story about the stick that you picked up, which I think is like the best story to help us understand what that feeling is. Like when you try to rise up and you say to life, no, I'm not going to take the shit that you give me. Life is like, sit the fuck down. Right? Like when you get a friend, your friend is like, adios, I'm going to Japan. And you can try to contact me for 4 years and you'll never hear from me. And, oh, you have another friend and it turns out that their parents are religious fanatics and they can't see you anymore because you listen to music together.
Yeah.
How dare you, Yuna?
Yeah.
Right? So that's the story. And so it makes sense. It makes perfect sense to me that you have the feelings that you have, that you carry around this idea that you're not good enough, that work feels safe because you can rely on it because it's a computer and not a human being that's going to abandon you. Right?
Yeah.
And so like, I get that it feels safe. And I get that like there's a logical part of you because, and we're going to try a couple of interesting meditation exercises in a second. Okay. But I think basically what I see is that you have these negative feelings and you're being controlled by them. And by controlled by them, I don't mean that like you're crippled with depression. What I mean is that you'll do anything to avoid those negative feelings. And you try to push them down through logic. You try to convince yourself. You tell yourself, oh, I should go hang out with these people. And when you go hang out with those people, then those feelings come up. And then like you can't even benefit from hanging out with people. And so if you go hang out with people, the feelings are going to come up, right? Yeah. So the only way you can get rid of the feelings is to workaholic.
Yeah.
And there are going to be other things that I think also get rid of the feelings, which oddly enough is going to be like really judgmental towards yourself. I think they actually make the feelings go down, which I know sounds weird. What do you think about that?
That's interesting. I would like to know.
So when you beat yourself up, what happens to the feeling in your stomach?
When I beat myself up? I'm not sure. What do you mean?
I know it sounds weird. We'll explore that down the road. But anyway, let's not worry about that for now.
Oh, okay.
So the main thing, though, is that when you work, it calms down the feeling, right?
Yeah.
There's so many things that you do to calm down those feelings. And those are the things that make it hard for you to live life. Does that make sense? Like you exclude portions of your life because spending time with your friends and family brings those feelings up.
Yeah.
So it's the avoidance of that feeling that keeps you from living life. Because you can live life with the feelings, or you could forget about life and be a workaholic and then you don't have to worry about the feelings.
Yeah.
So oddly enough, your answer is very simple. You have to just learn how to sit with those feelings and accept them. See, if you can tolerate that feeling, it no longer needs to control you.
I see. Yeah.
Okay. So now I'm going to try to evoke those feelings in you. Are you ready?
Okay.
Okay. And we're going to teach you how to sit with them. And I'm going to teach you a meditative practice that will like help you work through them. And I suppose I should ask for permission first because I said I'm going to do this thing, but I don't know if you really want to do this. Okay. Yeah. I assumed you were, but at the same time, you seem a little bit like, oh, shit. That's what I saw in your eyes there for a second. How are you feeling?
I'm curious.
Okay. Sit up straight. You can cross your legs if you want to. Can you sit cross-legged?
I'm good like this.
Okay.
Wait, do I like this? Like
yeah, you can say just your back should be straight.
Oh, okay, like this.
That feels.
Do you mean like the this thing?
Yes.
Do you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, my feet are gonna show.
Okay.
Oh, wait.
I guess that's. I don't know what the significance of that is.
No, because the TOS says you can't show feet.
Oh, the TOS says you can't.
Another thing.
You can't show feet on Twitch?
I have TOS PTSD.
Okay, I don't know about any of that, but if the TOS says you can't show feet, then don't show your feet.
Wait, can I talk to you about this? I have this real PTSD. Recent PTSD.
TOS PTSD. This is the first time I've ever heard of TOS. They didn't teach me about this at Harvard Medical School.
Okay, yeah. So I think another big, so like, I've been banned on this platform 3 times.
Okay.
And so I'll talk about the second and the third bans.
Okay.
Because it's legit. It's a legit. I dream about it. I dream about this, but like, okay, so the first ban was because I had this feature. I programmed this feature that I thought was funny, where I said $1 for D. So when someone sends me $1, a letter D will pop up on my virtual character's phone. And I thought it was a funny joke because, you know, like, you get the joke, right, Dr. K?
The $1 for D meaning $1 for dick?
Okay, so the joke is like, because $1 for D is like, it's funny because like you think it's like a dick pic, but it's just a letter D that pops up in your phone, and it's like, haha, it's funny. Anyways, it was supposed to be like a funny joke thing. But I got banned for that, and the reasons was that I was soliciting pornography, and
soliciting pornography.
Mm-hmm. That was the reason.
You got something on your lip, maybe. Can't tell.
Oh.
Yeah, there you go.
I was soliciting pornography, and then yeah, that one really that one I think really like messed with my brain because I don't know. I don't think I was soliciting pornography with the joke. I thought I was soliciting a joke. But I think like in my mind it just so my third ban, I'll talk about my third ban. My third ban was because so I do this interview type podcast. I bring up the streamer in my world and we talk about things. And one of the topics that we wanted to get into and talk about was sexual harassment towards female streamers. And she told me she collects emails and messages and she has it in the folder and she shares it on her stream. And I asked her if we can show it on my stream, and she was totally okay with it because we were on the topic and I wanted to talk about female sexual harassment because I think it's an important topic. So she sent me one screenshot. I pull it up. I read it. We discuss it. She sent me another one. I pull it up. I read it. We discuss it. Unfortunately, that second screenshot had the person's first and last name and email on it.
Mm.
And that's what got me banned. And like I couldn't figure out what it was because when I got banned, like I couldn't figure out why I got banned when I got banned, because in my mind, like I didn't do anything wrong. But then when I was told what happened, I was like, oh, that makes sense, because like when I was showing the screenshot, I never thought, oh, this is like a real person and I'm doxing a real person.
Sure.
You know, in my mind, I think it's a hate mail. It's not, it's obviously using like a username alias. Like that's kind of the thoughts I have in my head. Right. And, but I guess I think like that whole experience of getting banned 3 times when I myself didn't see myself as a toxic streamer, like, but it feels like because I got banned 3 times, like I must be a toxic streamer, like I must be not wanted on the platform. And I think it kind of just reiterates like my pattern, I guess, of like I try really, really hard on something and
you get punished for it.
And I get punished for it. And like I have PTSD from it because I dream about it. Because like the last dream I had, it's kind of funny. The last dream I had, I wanted to get pizza and I had a pizza flyer and I showed my chat the pizza flyer, unbeknownst that the owner's first and last name and number was on the pizza flyer. And then I showed it to chat and I got banned for it. And I was so upset in my dream.
So you know, I'm gonna have to be honest with you. So first of all, you know, just so people are aware. Okay, so I don't even know what to do with this, but let me give this a shot. Okay. First is I've never heard of TOS PTSD before, but sure as hell sounds like a thing. You know, it's interesting because when we look at the features of PTSD, hypervigilance and nightmares are actually 2 parts of it. Like they're 2 parts of the diagnostic criteria. So I think, you know, we toss around the word PTSD a lot, or the phrase. I think, you know, I haven't sort of said this yet, but it's not so bizarre that you're talking about TOS PTSD. But if you know, you may actually, I don't know if you see a mental health professional, but like depending on what's going on here, like you may actually want to get evaluated because in the event that you actually have, because I mean, you seem to be saying I really have PTSD over this, and I know it sounds kind of absurd, but that, you know, just the little parts that you've mentioned, you know, do make me think that it warrants getting an actual evaluation. I've never heard of something like this before. But you know, there are treatments if you have real PTSD.
Yeah.
And if you like think about it a lot and it's kind of intrusive in the nature of its thoughts, if you have nightmares about it and things like that, like I know it sounds so bizarre
it's so silly. I know it sounds so silly.
But yeah. Go ahead, sorry.
No. It's just I feel like it's so silly because like the pizza flyer story. Like if I talk about it, it's funny. Like it is a funny story. Like why would you dream about that? But like, so it kind of also makes me feel. It just makes me feel really silly and.
Yeah, so you know, I want you to
stupid.
I want you to really hear what I'm saying because you feel silly and stupid, and this is the first time during the conversation where I'm telling you that this could be a real thing that warrants actual mental health treatment.
Okay.
Right, so I'm telling you, like, I know it sounds bizarre. I mean, it sounds bizarre even to me. But the whole, so one of the actually interesting hallmarks of my clinical experience of working with PTSD is that frequently people think that things are silly or stupid to the outside world, but it affects them in a really profound way. Yeah. Right. And the most simple example I can think of is like people in abusive relationships where they're like, oh, you know, it's like, I know this is silly and stupid. I feel so dumb, but my partner hits me every time, you know, I don't make the food right. I'm so stupid. It's so silly. And that's like actually what they'll say. And so I know it sounds bizarre, but this is the kind of thing where, first of all, I'm a little bit deer in the headlights because I don't quite know. I have to think about that for a little bit. I feel like it's a whole other can of worms. I do see what you're saying in terms of like there's a common theme here about you trying to assert yourself in some way, and you kind of get punished for it.
Yeah.
At the same time, you know, it does make sense to me that you got banned if you accident. Sure, it's an accident. And this is also where like we have to be a little bit careful because you have this complex within you that sort of thinks that you're not good enough. And this is just, and it can take advantage, or it can use this TOS kind of stuff is like fuel for its, you know, like energy for beating you up and judging you yourself. And at the same time, you know, I think that part of understanding the appropriateness of the ban is in recognizing that the reason that you're not banned, or the reason you were banned is not because you're a toxic streamer, or, I mean, arguably that could be viewed as toxic. It sounds to me like it was a genuine mistake that Twitch appropriately sort of says, this is not acceptable behavior and you need to be super, super careful about this.
Yeah.
So this is also where, from a behavioral standpoint, I kind of think about, especially temporary bans, is, and I don't really know because I don't talk to Twitch, and maybe I'll feel differently, you know, inevitably. I guess it's not, one day I'm going to get up and I'm going to walk out. I mean, I'm not wearing socks or shoes right now. I wear flip-flops. And so if I leave the room, I guess my feet are going to be visible.
No, that's fine. That's okay. It's unless they interpret it as being sexual, but like most people won't.
Okay, so
it's only when it's interpreted as being sexual that when it gets.
So I mean, this is another discussion. I guess I'll have to ask our account manager. But like, so I'm Indian, and I sit in yoga postures, and as part of my culture, we do not wear shoes or socks really in the house. Like Indian people go barefoot a lot.
Yeah, you're fine as long as it's not being interpreted as being sexual. If
I sit in a yoga posture, like Padmasana, which is the lotus posture, which Buddha sits in, is meditating, and you can see his feet and all the statues about Buddha. Do you think that's something I can get banned for?
You know, but if you were a sexy, hot lady that was like, you know, that had a lot of booba and
booba means boobs?
Yeah. Okay. If you're a sexy hot lady with boobs, maybe. Like
that was fun.
It's all about interpretation. Like,
okay. I mean, I get it because you got to keep the Coomers at bay, but you know, I was just, okay, thank you for educating me, because I sit cross-legged on stream. I mean, like I'm sitting cross-legged without socks on right now. It's just can't see them.
Yeah.
But okay, so it's just, I guess it's about the sexuality of it.
Yeah. Yes, the sexuality of it.
And I mean, I was advocating that you sit cross-legged, not out of any sexuality, but just because of the same reason that I sit cross-legged, just because I think it's a good meditative posture.
No, I know. Don't worry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm going to have to think about this TOS PTSD thing. Can I have some time to process? Like, I'm serious. I'm not trying to meme about it.
Yeah.
It's just
it's just so silly. Like, I don't know. I have, like, for example, like when you were telling me to get mental health checkup for PTSD, my first thought went to, will I get banned for that? Because then, you know, will Twitch see me as like a legal threat? And would I get banned for that?
No, Twitch is actually very supportive of streamers like taking care of their mental health.
Okay. Because then what if they see me as like a legal threat or something?
Okay, so this is where I can't speak for Twitch, but you know, we work like Healthy Gamer works with Twitch because Twitch actually cares about your mental health. And so we like literally have a program where Twitch will provide you with coaching through Healthy Gamer. So if you want to work with one of our coaches who works specifically on issues like imposter syndrome, burnout, and now like I have a meeting with all of our creator coaches today. Yeah. So these are coaches who work specifically with streamers and content creators. So you can sign up for that program, and actually like Twitch is paying for it. So they care about your mental health, like very genuinely. Like I'm not saying this because it's an advertisement for them. I'm saying because like they're actually, you know, they seem to care about it, and they're working with us in our experience, which is like really positive. And now in our meeting with our coaches today, I'm going to bring up TOS PTSD and ask them to talk to their clients about, do you guys have PTSD over being banned? Because it sounds like it could be like a common issue, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And if so, we'll try to figure out what to do about it.
I think my issue with it is that, like, it just keeps on making these weird, silly things in my brain. Like, for example, when can I get banned now because if I seek mental health, stuff for it, does that make me like illegal? Like, you know how those connections are kind of silly, but like I make them.
Yeah, so I think it's a reasonable connection, though. So when it comes to getting mental health treatment, this is what I would advocate, is that, like, that's a private thing. Mm-hmm. So like when I say that, there are particular bounds even around this conversation that, like, there are a lot of things that if I was actually your therapist, I think would be really important to discuss.
Yeah.
Such as diagnostic criteria for PTSD. I would evaluate for that. Other things would be like really digging into romantic relationships, because that sounds important to me. But like here in a public discussion about anxiety and some of the things that happen in your mind, that's not really appropriate.
Yeah.
I don't think that they're going to think you're a threat. In fact, I think it's sort of like you're taking care of your health, right? I really don't think so. I haven't gotten, I can't speak for Twitch, but generally speaking, the response that I've gotten from them is overwhelmingly positive and supportive. That they recognize that you guys deal with a lot of hard stuff, and they're actually going out of their way to support content creators on the platform. That's been my experience.
Yeah.
I also know that like Twitch even provides discounts for therapy, and something that my account manager sent me. So you have some information there, which you can talk to your account manager about. But so I think they actually do a fair amount.
Cool.
And I can't imagine that they would punish people for, they're like trying to provide you, like trying to.
Oh, no. Me saying that was more of me telling you that I think it's silly that I.
Oh, I see. That's the example of an irrational thought.
Yeah.
Got it. So I was trying. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So it was just like these irrational thoughts always pop up in my head, even when I'm streaming. Even when I'm like making content, all these irrational thoughts just pop up and make weird connections. And it's been like one of the biggest things that's been kind of holding me back from like who I was before when I perform on Twitch. And it's something that I've been like really frustrated with.
Can I just process for a second?
Yeah. I'm going to use the restroom real fast.
Okay, don't show your feet.
For dried flowers.
So, chat, is anyone else a little bit offended on my behalf that I won't get banned for showing my feet because apparently I'm not sexy enough?
1 second, sorry. 1 second. Okay. 1 second. 1 second.
Just turn off your camera to just be safe.
1 second.
I can't hear you now. Apparently I'm not sexy enough, chat. My mic's still working though. No, I mean it's weird, right? I guess Coomers will coom to anything. I really don't understand this at all. But okay. I mean, gotta live and learn. And one of the best educational tools on the internet is the ban hammer. If you guys haven't, I still don't entirely understand what a Coomer is, by the way. Yeah, so, at some point we could talk about lust. Like, I don't mean because it's, to step back from the memes, but to be all, serious, like the satisfaction of desires and exploring lust and sort of managing some of your feelings, whether it be lust for food, lust for more sexual things. Important topics. Very important.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay, welcome back.
Hi.
So, I'm gonna have to think about some of the stuff more,
Yeah.
I think there's something really important that you just said about who you were before and the thoughts that you have that keep you from being yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's almost like it sounds like they're very intrusive and kind of disruptive and dominating in terms of like affecting you. It's not just a thought that comes and goes. It's like you're trying to live your life, and then this thought comes in and it kind of really disrupts your joy and your tranquility.
I also feel like a bit like I don't have control over my work as well anymore because in a way, because sometimes I work really hard and then I'm like, oh, but like I'm probably gonna get banned. So like, why am I trying? Like I have these irrational thoughts that like always kind of like pop up, and I think it's just kind of, it's just been a pattern of my life, and it's like
What's the pattern?
It's like whenever I take control of something and do really well on something, I get knocked down, and like I recognize like that was like completely my mistake, even if it was an accident. But I just, for some reason, I always get myself into these situations, even if it's an accident, even if I don't mean to do it. That always just kind of like happens.
Yeah. So, I think this is really a different topic because I know this sounds kind of weird, but so I think that there are some weird principles from spirituality about getting yourself into situations and then also learning how to not get into those situations.
Yeah.
And I know this sounds weird. Like we tend to take we've taken a pretty psychological approach today in terms of these patterns and what you think about yourself and not being good enough. But I think there are also other dimensions that you can work on this.
Yeah.
Like in terms of cultivating the right kind of Shakti or energy. That's Shakti, which is the Sanskrit word for energy. And there's certain practices that you can do, certain things that you can do that sort of cultivate a particular kind of energy. And it's not really scientific really at all. But I do find that taking that sort of approach about, what am I sort of putting out into the world and being very like thoughtful and careful about that can actually help people. But that's a different dimension. So I think that that's a discussion about how do you avoid getting yourself into those situations, which I think you can absolutely avoid doing. Now, that's the big caveat there is that you don't really control, you can't really control what the outside world does. You can't control what Twitch chat does. You can't control what Twitch does. But there are certainly ways of cultivating particular things and sort of setting yourself up for success. That's kind of one angle. The second angle is sort of helping you deal with who I am, who you were before, and how these thoughts have really shattered that. How can we help you find a place of like peace and tranquility where you've learned from your mistakes? You're going to be careful about not making them again. And also like those mistakes haven't shattered who you used to be. Because what I'm really hearing is that they've really remapped the way that you think about situations and the way that like you exist in the world, which sounds very devastating to me. What do you think about that?
They as in like the situations that happened in my past.
The
right?
thoughts, I would say, really. The thoughts that are intrusive.
The thoughts, yeah.
I'm hearing that you can't be yourself anymore.
Yeah, I think like I think it's just that I get influenced too easily by outside situations. That's like for example, like I have hard time recovering from things that shouldn't be that big of a deal, I guess.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Sure, it makes a lot of sense. So here's what I'm going to say at this point. So, I think we uncovered a really, really important understanding of a little bit about how you work, especially in like the first hour of the conversation. And I feel like we're opening up a couple of doors. And I'm a little bit hesitant because I feel like there's a lot of there's some important lessons which I'd really like to drive home with you. Yeah. So that you can start to make progress with like spending time with your friends and family. Yeah. And if it's okay with you, I'll table everything else. Yeah. Yeah. And teach you a little bit of meditation. Yeah. I don't mean to say that this stuff isn't important. It really does sound important, but I think like let's try to work on one problem at a time.
I told you I have so many issues.
You did.
I have so many issues.
Oddly enough, I think a lot of your issues are related. This PTSD, TOS stuff sounds different to me, though.
I think that's related, though, because I think I have PTSD from it because of situations that happened in my past. Like, okay. Because the thing is that I think it's the whole because I worked so hard on my stream. Like, it's my entire life. Literally, the things that I've created is literally like my entire life. And it's something that I thought I finally had control over. And, the dollar for D thing, I could never, I just could not foresee that one. And like, in my mind, I just could not foresee like that a letter D would equate to pornography as me selling pornography. Like I still to this day, I still have trouble making those links. And like, I think it's just that in my mind, that situation wasn't really in my control. Like in my mind. That's kind of how I see it, how I saw it. And I work, like, my stream is my life, and I put so much into it. And now I'm already on my third ban. And I feel like I just feel like, again, it's probably going to be taken away from me. And so that's severe, like, worry, and that's severe, like, just anxiety. I think that's what's causing. I don't even know if it's PTSD. I just have dreams about getting banned a lot in different situations I didn't mean. It's always like I do something that I completely didn't realize that I was doing at the time, and then I think it's just like a pattern of my life that I've been dealing with, where I, even with something that I feel like I had complete control over and was doing really well in, can be just taken away from me, and will probably be taken away from me, considering all the things that happened.
Sounds like it's almost inevitable.
Well, that's why I convinced myself. Which is bad, but that's just kind of what I convinced myself.
I like what you did there.
What?
So you said, that's what I convinced myself of, and it's bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
You didn't say, I shouldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Did you notice that? I don't know if you were thinking it, but just right there, you sort of just stated what you felt without judging yourself for feeling it.
Yeah.
Which I think is progress. But I'm also seeing that this is like feels really, really important to you. And I'm getting a sense of, the train is coming down the tracks and you're kind of stuck on the tracks kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
That no matter what you do, that this is going to happen.
It's just a pattern, It's just, even like now when I feel like I'm doing really well and I'm in my mind, I'm like, in my brain, I'm like, oh, I think I'm successful or not successful, but I think I'm doing really well. I tell myself I shouldn't enjoy it because it's going to hurt too much when it's like ripped from me. But yeah.
It's hard to live life where your two choices are to try to protect yourself and forego living, or to enjoy yourself and be punished for it.
Yeah.
It sounds really tough,
I kind of I don't know. In my mind, I just kind of justify it as like, oh, it's good because you shouldn't be that successful. I don't know. My brain works in a weird way. My brain is a weird place.
I know it looks weird and contradictory, but one of the things I've come to appreciate about our minds is that they're actually quite logical. They just have their own system of logic, which sometimes we can't see. So I'm going to ask you in the last few minutes that we have, do you want to continue talking or would you rather learn meditation?
What is your recommendation, Mr. Dr. K?
My recommendation would be that you learn meditation. But what I'm picking up from you is that you still have a lot more to say. So I think ultimately
I have so many issues.
So this is where I kind of say this, and sometimes people think that I'm doing this as kind of a disclaimer or whatever. But I really think you should either sign up for our content creator coaching program, or go see a mental health professional and just sort of get evaluated. And they may be able to help you with social anxiety or PTSD or things like that. And I say this as a psychiatrist, like I think it would be very appropriate for someone like you to come into my office and say, hey, here's what I'm concerned about. And I think it's very reasonable and an appropriate thing to explore about whether this is, really PTSD or not.
Yeah.
And in terms of meditation, I think that meditation is good because I'd like to teach you a practice to learn how to sit with yourself and especially sit with those negative emotions so that you don't have to work on them. But I'm sort of feeling like now it's kind of artificial. But the meditation. But anyway, it's okay. But so if you really want to learn, I'm happy to teach you.
Wait, why is it artificial?
I felt like it was a lot more appropriate before we opened this other thing up, and it feels a little bit distant to me from the current topic of conversation. That's all.
I see. But it is still like the same type of pattern.
Same pattern,
right?
same thing. Okay, so sit up straight.
Okay.
Okay. So what do you close your eyes for a second?
Okay.
Okay. And what do you feel in your body?
Hunger.
Okay.
I I just realized I'm hungry.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
Really hungry.
Okay. So okay, then we're gonna not do this, okay?
Okay.
So
okay,
this
sorry.
is no, there's nothing to apologize for.
I actually didn't eat breakfast, and now I'm just like I stood up straight, and then I'm like, oh wait, I'm really hungry.
Yeah, so I want this to be a really, really important lesson that I want people to take away. So meditation is wonderful. It's great. All that good stuff. I'm a big fan of it. There's science that suggests it helps with PTSD. It helps with anxiety. And also sometimes it's not the right time to meditate.
Yeah.
And if you get really, really sleepy when you meditate, if you're really, really hungry, rather than, I know it's kind of ironic because what I was about to try to teach you how to do is to, sit with some of the feelings that you've got instead of giving into them. Oddly enough, I think you should just go and eat something. and like honestly, like just do what your body and your mind sometimes tells you. Like you have to learn how to resist some of it, and some of it you just gotta eat something. Because you woke up. This has been intense. You've been at this for 2 hours. You've been crying off and on, exploring a lot of stuff. It's very energy intensive. So I'd say just go eat.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay. No, it's fine.
I feel like I ruined this interview.
Let me be very careful with my language. I had an expectation and a hope, which you have thrown a wrench in. And one of the most...
is that bad?
Yes.
Oh.
But there's a big but. So this is the other really important thing that I think it's really important for you to learn, Yuna, is that it's okay to ruin stuff, right? Like this is the big lesson that you've got to learn is like, if your stream is not perfect, it's okay. If you say something and you're with your family, like if you go and hang out with your family and you feel like you're distracted by stream and work and stuff like that, that's okay. So what I want you to do is learn how to be okay. The interview was incredibly productive. I think it was incredibly educational, and all of the important things that we needed to accomplish, I think we accomplished. I had this other expectation because I had a really good meditation technique, but I just don't think sometimes it's not going to work, which is fine, right? That's life. And that's an important lesson that we have to learn how to let go of our expectations. And then like the second time this rolls around, we'll do it again. And then we'll teach you meditation. So remember that life is going to send you some things on its timeline. And like, you just have to respect that. And if you're hungry, genuinely speaking from the bottom of my heart, as someone who's been teaching meditation for almost 20 years, I'd say you need to go eat.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Are you judging yourself?
No, yeah.
Good.
No.
Then you've made me happy and you've made the interview worthwhile.
Yay.
Okay. So best of luck to you. As I understand, I may actually wind up on your show sometime.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to that.
That'd be so fun.
Yeah, I'm. So I don't know what to expect, but I think we're gonna, do it the other way around.
It'll be really fun. I'm
okay,
excited.
Great. Okay, cool. So thank you so much for coming on. Take care of yourself. And then, let us know if we can kind of support you. If you want info about the coaching program, just let us know.
Okay.
And then, I really wish you all the best. I think, you can be way happier. You can get back to where you were. I think you can learn how to overcome this thing that you have inside you. And I think you've actually made good progress today. So best of luck. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. K.
You're most welcome.
I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Yeah, bye. Okay.
I felt the earth beneath my feet. Sat by the river and it made me complete. simple thing. Where have you gone? I'm getting old and I need something to rely on. So tell me when you're gonna let me in. I'm getting
Just set a branding for our group. We're going with a sexy, rebellious image. Good. Papa Zora meow. Oh no, that's Stinky. Go shower, Papa Zora. Go shower. Soup and bread hits different at lunchtime. Huh? Is that what you usually eat for lunch? What did I eat for lunch? I had a KFC potato bowl. It was nice. It's like potato, mashed potato, and then they put the cheese, and then there's some chicken, popcorn chickens, and then some corn. It was nice. No matter what kind of dating policy, it probably won't do anything to discourage idols from becoming romantically involved. Thus, if it's an internal thing, keep that kind of thing under wrap wouldn't be an issue.
Talk about it somewhere only we know. There's stupidity in our everything. So I don't go.
This is what you had today and night. Eh? You didn't have your breakfast, or you just had your lunch? Brunch? Mackie. Oh, Mackie for breakfast. Mackie. Wait, Mackie means McDonald's? Do you call McDonald's Mackie's in UK? Open to multiple interpretations. Oh, ambiguous.
So tell me.
I can't hang this guy. Ah, yeah, follow me. Yes. Follow me. Come on. How's the game going? I don't know what I'm doing, only. I'm kidnapping him. Now what? What if I throw him down? Yeah, sounds like a good idea. Bye bye. Bye bye. Go. Go. Bye bye. Oh, Omni, thank you so much for the raid. Thank you. How was your stream? I'm killing your friends. Show art, Omni. What you working on? Okay. Question is how to go down. Anon, thank you so much for one.
An anonymous user gifted a tier 1 sub to Omni Oerman.
You hang on the knot? Huh?